Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes. Although we do encourage household pets and guide animals to watch.
Yep. So let's see here. Today was what was it?
International Guide Dog Day.
Yeah.
So yes, about guide dogs and service animals of all sorts. And I've seen some interesting things. One of the interesting things I ran across some time ago was that they're training miniature horses to be guides for people walking outside. And one of the advantages is that horses have much better color vision than dogs. So, like, they can actually differentiate the colors on the stoplight.
Interesting.
So they can actually, tell the difference between a red or green light for when it's safer to cross the street. And just in general, know that, red of any kind is usually a caution symbol.
Yeah, they're definitely intelligent enough to learn that.
Yeah. Although, it seems that they're kind of big to keep in a house, though, still. I mean, they're miniature horses, but, they probably still weigh like 80, 100 pounds at least.
Yeah, well, maybe bring them back down to being small, little tiny guys.
Well, I think we need the Jurassic Park technology, so that we can breed miniature dinosaurs. I can see sauropods the size of a cat being very popular.
Yeah. Thinking the way birds behave, I'm not so sure that'd be good to have running around.
Yeah, well, we already have that problem that hawks will take cats and small dogs as they see them running loose. Okay, in the side chat, I see Demon Orb and Greg Hartwick and Blaster Master and Captive Desk.
Hello, everybody.
All hail Bigfoot.
There you go. Would Bigfoot make a good guide animal? Or would it be too big?
Well, according to Joseph Smith's writing, Bigfoot traveled with him for a day while he was riding his donkey, and Bigfoot walked alongside him. Actually, according to his narrative, this was actually Cain, who somehow was still alive from biblical times. I guess it was something about that curse to, walk the earth forever and, be shunned by humans. I'm not sure being shunned by humans is such a curse myself, but I still like the idea of everybody staying 6 feet away from me.
And having everybody wear a mask definitely leveled the playing field.
Oh, yeah. I was glad to see today there's at least one other person in the building who was wearing a mask when they came in.
You don't see that too often nowadays.
No, hardly at all, but I see them once in a while, and when I go into the stores, I still have to be extra careful for Sloth Girl. I can't risk bringing anything home to her.
I gotta get my mask repaired.
I've got 2 nice ones that we made from Farron that Kitty gave us.
Yeah, I got this nice. It's a latex mask with a thing with an insert on it for the filter, so you can actually put any filter you want into the thing. The only problem is that the nose ridge it has a gap in it and doesn't have any way of sealing it. So I took a metal strip, like for regular ones, and I took some latex glue and I glued that into the inside of it and that worked to seal it up. But unfortunately, the latex glue wore out or stopped working, and the thing popped off on me. I need to get a different type of latex glue, I think.
Yeah, well, that's the ones we have. We put the metal nose strip in so I can, form it to my nose, and it's got to be just right to form around my nose and not interfere with my glasses.
Yeah, it's very difficult to get metal and latex to stick together.
Yeah. Well, latex is a hard material to get anything to stick to.
Yeah, that's the reason why I gotta get glue that's specifically for latex.
Yep. So, um,
But it didn't work.
yeah, E6000 is a good general purpose glue. I don't know if it works on latex, but it works on most plastics, so it might. But yeah, we've got a couple of masks that we made, and I want to make a couple more just so I've got more fashion choices, as it were. Also, I've only got 2 of them, so if I had enough to alternate, so then maybe I would only have to just wash a batch of them once a week instead of having to wash them out most every night.
One really neat thing about this mask I got is it's designed so you can actually cut your own filters.
That's good.
Yeah, so you can actually take a regular your mask, whatever mask you like, and
Mm-hmm.
cut out the part that you need to size and put that in as a filter.
Yeah, these just use the damn it, I can't come up with the word for it now. It's gone. Yeah, but the filter material, is just sewn in, so it's washable, and basically the surface of the fabric catches most of the stuff.
Yeah, it'd work if I get myself
But
some reusable filters. I can then just cut those to size and wash those when I need to, and
mm-hmm.
everything will be reusable then.
Yep. Well, you can probably on Amazon, find the filter material you need in sheets that you could cut.
Yep.
Cut out a bunch of them. I was looking at things for air filters because I need to set up an air filter. Something with the odor absorbing stuff, the activated charcoal fabric,
Mm.
because Ethan is of the tribodiferons. That he lays some real stinkers, and they just stink up the whole apartment. So I need something to deal with that at the source. And of course, just something to catch the dust from the cat litter when they're digging in there.
Yeah, that's the problem with cats is the litter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for litter boxes, I'm using these, 5-gallon totes that are like a foot deep. And you'd think that would contain the litter and they wouldn't be able to kick it over the sides, but no,
Oh,
still pick up a lot of cat litter every time I vacuum the carpet.
oh, they will find a way.
Yeah, and somehow, you know, I don't make my bed, but I, spread out the top sheet and the blanket every morning. And somehow every time I get in bed, there's a few grains of cat litter, on the undersheet.
Are they climbing
So
underneath these sheets?
I I don't know how, because it doesn't seem like they're disturbing the top sheet. So I don't know. And I thought maybe it was just sticking to my feet when I got into bed if there were a few grains in the carpet. So I'm, making a
Yeah.
habit of brushing off my feet before I get in bed and that, and doing everything I can think of, and yet it always manages to be just 3 or 4 grains. But, being autistic, a couple of grains of cat litter can still, be too annoying for me to fall asleep.
Yeah.
This is the downside of having heightened sensors, and that was one thing I liked about the Daredevil movie. was showing that with his heightened senses, he had to sleep in sensory deprivation tank. Yeah, people don't think of the other side of that, you're trying to focus on things, otherwise you're constantly overstimulated. I really think that the main thing with autism is about not having filters. I think neurotypical people have better filters, about they're taking in all the sensory input, but they're better about, what's irrelevant and I can ignore, and what do I have to pay attention to? And I think a big part of autism is not having those filters, so everything coming in seems important and you don't know what to pay attention to. At least that's my experience with it.
Yeah, sort of a Geordi LaForge's visor thing. How do you make sense of all that? Well, I just take whatever information is relevant and ignore the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, but the problem with autism, I think, is not knowing what you can safely ignore. And that's why then, like, going into the hyper-focus state, that, your brain has decided, okay, anything that is not part of this task should be ignored.
And it just operates in the other direction.
Yeah, well, you basically have to consciously make the decision to ignore everything. That's another part of the autism for me, is just, I think that a lot of things that most people just do automatically, that things that just happen to them without them being aware of it. It's all subconscious. That a lot of that stuff they do subconsciously, I have to make a conscious effort to do.
Yeah, I was trying to think of what our theme should be for Saturday.
Yeah, well, I think there still was a lot on these stimming and meltdowns that we didn't get covered, but so I wasn't sure if we should do, kind of a meltdowns and freeze up part 2, or if there's some other areas that we should try to cover.
Well, chat, if you have any suggestions, we'd like to hear them.
Yep.
If you may have questions on or something, we could maybe jot that down and cover that at Saturday.
Yeah, if you have anything about autism that you've wanted to ask, any input is appreciated. Yep, I could. Sorry, I'm quite tired today, so my brain is, at best running at half speed.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, this is another thing that I wondered about. Just, at so many jobs I've had, the boss had been telling me what a good job I was doing when I was so chronically sleep deprived. And again, kind of with all of the input and the filters thing, that is my brain working at half capacity, what other people would consider normal? Is this because I seem to be doing, more work than they expect of someone to be doing when I feel I'm in a zombie mode?
When you said that, I thought back to this old series called The Sentinel. I don't know if you're familiar with that series, but basically this guy finds he has these super senses, all basically the sight, smell, touch, hearing is all like super powered levels. So he has to deal with controlling it and all that. And later in the series, he finds out that he's actually had an ear infection the whole time. So he's been working at like half capacity this whole time with his hearing. So when he finally gets it cleared up, he's like being overly inundated by every little sound.
Being overwhelmed by not being able to sort out all the background noise.
Yeah, so he has to then train himself to figure out how to control that.
I can identify with that, especially when it comes to sound.
It was a decent series. The guy was it was sort of a buddy cop kind of thing where he was a detective using his senses to solve crimes and stuff.
Yeah, I was aware that the series was on. I never looked at it. Oh, if anybody in the audience was wondering, Jenny's at a doctor's appointment, so she's not going to be here for like another hour or so.
Well, that was a pretty wicked dream I had last night. Or dreams, I should say. It's actually two dreams, and they just kind of, work
Yeah,
together.
one ran into the other.
Yeah.
I saw you had posted about that. I didn't get a chance to read the whole thing.
Yeah, read it here. There was this boy. He was the youngest in his family. They was basically sitting at home with his. He had two older sisters. They were 12 and 15. His older brother is 17, almost 18. He had his mother and father and grandmother there. They were watching the news, and they're hearing about this neighboring country invading them, and they're dropping bombs on infrastructures and all that. Basically what's going on in the whole Palestine Gaza thing. And I guess that's probably what influenced it. Was what I'm thinking. The way it went.
Yeah, especially if you had been watching news right before you went to bed or something.
I wasn't, but I've watched a lot about it lately in this past month or so. But just as they were sitting there, the power goes out, and the kids start freaking out that they're all gonna die because they're gonna drop a bomb on them. Mother's trying to calm them down, like no, that's not gonna happen. And then suddenly they hear some gunfire, and he sees like in the room, place is dark since it kind of dark since the power's out, and he sees the flashes from the guns in the hallway.
Yep. Oh.
And since he and his sister were the closest to the back door, they run out. They get the hell out of there, and they go over, and there's this stone wall. It's kind of a short stone wall dividing his house and the neighbor's house. They jump that, and there's this little crevice. There's a kind of an overhang in part of the wall, because the wall was just kind of like makeshift.
Yep.
So he basically starts digging a hole, and he basically buries himself in the dirt or to hide. He hid in this one little crevice, and his sister's kind of freaking out, and like, yeah, we gotta get out of here, and like, we gotta hide. And she decides to hide with him. And unfortunately, as the soldiers come into the next house over to the neighbor house where they're hiding, they spot the sister.
Oh.
So they drag her out. They didn't see him though. Since he was smaller and he was more buried, they didn't notice him there too. But he's sitting there basically listening to his sister getting beaten and raped and then killed for hours in the dream.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty horrific.
And the neighbor lady who lived there, she ends up bribing the soldier just to leave him alone, since she's a different ethnicity to what the boy was and all that. Since they're targeting, they didn't bomb this one area because there was actually just a low level of the ethnicity they were going after.
Right.
So instead they just went through house to house, finding whoever it was and just killing them in that way. And then whoever who wasn't, they would have just bribe them to get him out of there. So she makes this deal. And she tells the kid it's safe to come out, and she hides him in a barrel with some food, and they're basically in line to drop off whatever supplies to get out of there. And while she's in line, she kind of steps out of line for a moment, goes over to the kid's house, and just kind of puts the barrel with the kid in there, or in the house, and then goes back in line and does the normal thing. So the whole time, so after the place is kind of emptied out, and the whole neighborhood's abandoned, kids left alone, and he's eating whatever food he had in the barrel. And then eventually, for months' time, he has to go out and start scavenging a little bit. And over time, these looters start showing it. These looters show up, because they're looking for whatever valuables that were left behind, or
yeah,
the places that were killed and whatnot. and the boy thinks the soldiers are coming back. He tries to hide, and they're going through his house, and they end up finding the boy. And they weren't expecting to find anybody alive, so this is kind of against what they were going for. But they weren't really interested in harming anyone. They just wanted to steal shit. So they take the boy to a refugee camp, and there's this kind of a very mystic woman kind of thing who was taking care of all the orphan and kids, and they put the boy with her. And then there was one of the last part that was where the soldiers arrive at the camp, and they search shit, and they ended up falling into a pit trap, and they managed to escape that way. So,
you remember all of that from your dream?
Yeah, I have my dreams go in full narratives like that, and it helps. I wrote it down as soon as I could too.
Yeah, well, definitely if you write it down as soon as you wake up while you're still retaining part of it. I'm just amazed that you have that much memory from when you're sleeping. I just get bits of things and try to piece them back together.
It doesn't always go that way. Actually, I had to write it down after I took Molly for a walk because everybody was bugging me for stuff.
Ah.
But I was going over it in my head during the whole walk, so.
That's pretty intense. But you got a whole short story there.
Yeah, it's very common for me to get short stories out of it. Unfortunately, I don't usually remember them so well.
And we have Stephanie joining us.
Hello.
Hello. I got all sorts of weird shit.
And Stephanie is doing an Inception thing on us.
Yeah, that's some kind of weird shit. I don't know. What's going on?
Well, I was just going to get into something even more disturbing here. Or less disturbing, or whatever.
Less disturbing? Well,
let's see if
please don't let me disturb you. Let me change my stupid camera because it's...
Let's see here. I got to get the links pulled up here for this, though. Make sure I got the right information.
This isn't about your dreams. This is something else now.
Yeah. All right. The full disclaimer. Let me get... That's the wrong link. This is covering a subject on pedophilia. So, full disclaimer about... No, that's not the right link either. What the hell is the link? So
yeah, sensitive material and trigger warnings.
Yeah, this might be it. No, that's not it either. God damn it, where the fuck... I will find this in a moment. I have...
Remember, I did say there might be swearing on here before we started, so... That
might
part
be
you can't
guaranteed.
Warning on us.
Autism.
Never mind, that might be stuff. Purple, Jesus.
Pretty much.
Maybe
We're actually we're 20 minutes in before the swearing started. That's a lot better than we usually do.
Yeah. Holy shit, I am late.
Quite often it starts more about 20 seconds in.
Yeah. I was sewing, and actually I got into the sticky stuff. I'm doing a number change.
A number change?
Yes.
What did they have?
Racing sales.
On sale for racing?
Yes. Yeah. Racing sales have numbers on them, and sometimes people sell their sales to other people, and the sale numbers don't match the boat, and so you got to change the numbers. And the numbers are put on with this adhesive back Dacron fabric, and the adhesive is quite tenacious.
Here we are.
Well, it would have to be to hold them on the sail during the wind.
And the rain and the salt and the yick. Yes.
Who just popped in here?
It's a messy job.
Hello.
Hello there.
Oh, Laura. I was wondering where you were.
Hey, Laura.
Hadn't heard from you in literally months. And
yeah, I've just been very quiet lately.
Okay, yeah, well, I had sent you invites about, joining our Saturday streams on autism and never got a response.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't really paying that much attention at the time. And by the time I did, it was over.
Yeah, not paying attention to Twitter. Well, we're going to do one more this Saturday.
Right.
So,
That's
if you're
been a
around,
great
but
series.
I also know that, there's a 6-hour time difference, so.
Yeah, that can be a pain.
Yeah, so with us starting at 5 o'clock in the evening, that's like 11 o'clock your time.
Yeah.
So I understand if that's just too late if you have to go to bed before then.
Not 11.
I've been sort of having a bit more of a normal sleeping pattern for the UK, because my sleeping pattern had previously been going to bed at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning and getting up at midday, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So
that's about what my pattern is right now. I can't get to bed before 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, so I can't get moving before noon.
Yeah. And then it takes time to get ready for the day.
Yep.
If I need to go out or something. So, I often end up sort of going out and only getting the last 2 hours of the shops being open.
Yeah, that's a problem I've been running into too, of just getting to all my shopping before they start closing up on me.
Yeah. My good news lately has been that I'm going. I've got my HRT has been increased again. So I'll be getting 6 milligrams a day, which is cool. And I'm going to be going to Japan in about 5 weeks' time.
Oh.
And I'm not going for the usual fortnight. I'm going for almost a month.
Cool.
Awesome. That's cool.
Maybe while you're there, then you'll have time to go and see Jesus's grave.
There's a grave of Jesus in Japan?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There is a grave with a little fence around it that, a certain denomination of Christians there will tell you that this is where Jesus is buried.
Right.
Except that isn't the whole point that he's not supposed to be buried?
Yeah. I don't think that the Japanese ever understood our religion at all. Especially if you look at the way they decorate for Christmas. Their Christmas is
I don't understand their religion either.
Yeah.
Not going to claim Christianity as my own. I'll claim my Christian roots, and I'll say I'm a cultural Christian along with that biology guy, Docky Wacky or whatever the fuck his name is. But no.
Yeah, well.
I do know, though, that as a cultural Christian, at least my tradition was, that the fella took a 3-day weekend and then went, came.
Well, I think what they were saying there is that after he rose again, then he just spiritually ascended into heaven and left the body behind.
Okay.
I believe that's what that story is about.
No, so he was a Scientologist. He dropped the body.
Well, I kind of thought that's what happened when I was a pagan. That I was big on reincarnation. So yeah, it was just kind of you're leaving the body behind and you get to go and inhabit a new body that was just made.
Mm-hmm. Would you come back as a guide dog?
Sure.
There you go. Had to get back to the topic of the day somehow.
Yep.
Well, I was going to go off the rails here, so...
Yeah, what's happened to your... you were going down an avenue.
Yes, I was going down, I found
dark.
links. Yes, sort of. I do research pedophilia off and on for almost since the time beginning of me being on the internet for personal reasons with people I've known getting molested and whatnot. So that's kind of background where I look into this. But there was something I've suspected for quite a while, and I've only been able to recently find the actual hard numbers to prove it. And that is a claim. Not all sex offenders, no child molesters are pedophiles. In fact, most are not. Interestingly enough,
pedorist.
And the first, I was looking at the Australia information here, and they actually list one point that they mention that, but they don't list the numbers here. But they did list a low incidence of child pornography use. Approximately 10% had used childhood pornography who had molested kids. But I tried digging around, and I finally found this one study from 2014, and it finally gave me a hard number on the numbers. Only a small part, 16.2% of sexual offenders against children meet the criteria of being a pedophile, and that's, by the way, the criteria is having a primary or exclusive sexual attraction into prepubescent children, and that's from the ages of 13 or under, or lasting more than 6 months. The person has to be at least 16, and the age gap has to be at least 5 years. So a 16-year-old having an attraction towards a 13 or 12-year-old would actually not qualify.
Okay.
So
well, I can see that makes sense. That if the age gap is only like 2 years or something, that's just kind of normal dating for teenagers.
There's a power dynamic involved.
Oh yeah,
too,
there
in safe
is.
sport training.
Yeah.
In safe sport training, if say you have a junior counselor or something like that, and they're a junior instructor in something or another, if they have that, then they need to be very, very careful about how they interact in that public display of affection department, shall we say, with those under their charge. So it would be possible to be a 19-year-old instructor who had a 17-year-old student in their group, and that would violate the ethics.
In fact,
I can see that would still be an instance of abuse, but with the definition that Mage was giving, it would not be pedophilia.
In fact, the most situations of sexual abuse, this goes on for rape and with kids and all that. I think predominantly it has to do with that power dynamic, like that causes people to go do that rather than the attraction.
Yeah. It's funny. Just a little while ago on the evening news. So the 7 o'clock news finishes at 8. It's now 8:33. So it wasn't very long ago, and they were talking about AI porn, child porn, including taking an adult and making them a child, and then making porn from that. And it's like, that's a kind of weird question, isn't it? Because it's like, I'm not trying to suggest any of these things are okay by any sense, but it's
this is not saying any of this is okay.
The question is, if there are no victims, is there harm?
Well, that question's been being asked for a long time, just as far as artwork. Just if it's illustrated and it's not a real person, does that count as child porn if it's just an illustration?
I'm actually not bothered by the fake stuff. It's when somebody's actually being harmed and actually somebody really being exposed doing this stuff. Is where I have a really big problem with it.
Yep.
But the reason why I wanted to point this out is I think we need to stop using pedophile as a synonym for her child molester.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right.
They're not the same.
It's being used too broadly.
Yes,
and yeah, I'm sure that a lot of the instances aren't involving, victims that are prepubescent, but ones that are teenagers that they're like at least in the middle of puberty.
Yeah, and that's actually a different type of paraphilia, definitionally speaking.
Yeah.
It really, a lot of these issues boil down to consent.
Yeah.
Though legally, still, 17 under is still illegal in most places.
There's
so.
there's no consent involved.
Even if,
especially if there's a power dynamic. It's different. A couple of 14-year-olds go out on a date and engage in a little heavy petting. Well, that's a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's a whole bit different than a 19-year-old and a 13-year-old or something like that, because there's an inherent dynamic.
Yeah.
There's no consent involved there. You can't even see it. You can't even see that consent could be freely given.
But anyway, I was interested in pointing this out because this is hard. This is actually the first time I actually got to see a hard number showing what I've suspected for a while about the matter.
When it comes to the fantasy stuff that was mentioned, that's Vosh got himself in a whole bunch of trouble because of I forget what the particular genre is. It's basically cartoon porn.
Yeah. Well, that's the the Japanese have a whole genre of that, of the I think
it involved horses, apparently. I don't know, but I don't want to know. I don't think anybody
I didn't mean about horses, but I mean just as far as the cartoon Japanese porn involving a lot of the MAGA characters and that.
Yeah, the Japanese approach is more of having fantasies in your head is one thing. Doing it to people is quite a different thing, and as long as there's the difference, then fantasy is okay.
Hi, Jenny. You just came in the middle of a very heavy topic here.
Yeah,
hentai, horse hentai. That's what you want.
No.
How about donkeys or seeing eye dogs? How are we?
Okay.
No, never mind.
There is a guy in Wisconsin who is being tried for bestiality.
Oh,
right now.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that that they find people in the state doing that from time to time.
I think it's probably more than just Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So hi, kids.
Hi.
Oh, hi, Jenny.
Oh, sorry, I was late. I was at the hospital. You guys in chat getting some tests. They this a chemical stress test. Have any of you ever had that?
A chemical stress test where they dip you in acid or something?
No, it's instead of running on a treadmill because I can't run. Except they give you chemicals that spike your heart rate and fuck around with some other things, and it basically gives the same reading then as a thing. But you got to put up with the fact that they give you this injection or this IV, and all of a sudden you can't breathe.
Yeah, no, I've never had anything like that. I didn't know they did that, but I see, I can see the point.
Yeah, it was no fun. It's very scary.
Yeah, that basically they're trying to get your heart in the state that you would be like after a 20-minute workout or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and on top of it, they don't let you drink for 12 hours. No liquids, no caffeine. No caffeine. No food. Nuh-uh, don't do that either.
So you're also partially dehydrated.
Yeah, way. I've already polished off one pint. right?
I was in this morning for my first mammogram ever.
Oh yeah, fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, you got the squish?
Yeah, them squishing and stretching out the skin. That's mostly for me. I don't have much for them to squish to begin with. So to get it in there, I felt the whole skin from my breasts all the way up my neck just being stretched.
I don't know. I think that's kind of fun myself.
Well, what I found funny, was that she gives me a gown and tells me, just to strip to the waist. But she's going to be playing with my breasts anyway. So what was the point of me even putting the gown on, much less her pulling the curtain while I put the gown on? It's like I'm not covering up anything that you're not going to see in 2 minutes anyway.
Well, it's called decency.
It's just one of the things about just our society's level of taboo with nudity that just I find it funny. I find our society's rules about modesty to be rather humorous, really.
Well, was anybody else going to be there or something that you had to cover up for? Or what? Was this the doctor and you? So what?
Yeah, well, it was just me and the woman who was working the machine. Okay, sorry, Jenny, what did you say?
I appreciate them being that way. I mean, I'm not a prude, but I feel very private. I don't want to advertise my body to anybody, especially a stranger.
Yeah, they're going to be seeing it anyway.
That doesn't mean that they haven't seen mine.
Well, they're going to be looking at it anyway.
I don't want them to see mine.
Well, like I said, before I got my new driver's license, I was just seriously thinking last summer of trolling the conservatives of walking around topless while my driver's license still said I was male.
But they are going to see you because they have to see it to do the little squishy thing. So
yeah, they got to put you in the machine at just the right angle.
Well, it's a good sign if you had enough for a mammogram, then you're doing okay.
Yeah, well, but this was basically part of the screening for getting scheduled for top surgery.
Booberific.
Yeah.
Boobalicious.
Well, basically, the estrogen has only given me an A cup, and it has stopped there. So, gonna see about having a little more added.
Sure. It's quite funny. I've got an amusing little story having a mammogram. So I decided to transition in December 2018. In January 2019, I found a lump on my right breast. So it's like, okay, we're going to go to doctors. And, sure enough, it's like, okay, there's definitely something there. So I wanted to go to get a mammogram. And so I ended up going to Oldham Hospital. And so treated really lovely, like a female patient, which was totally appropriate. So one of the things that's interesting about having a mammogram, I was lied to. She said it'll only hurt for 10 seconds.
Ow.
She didn't, she didn't include the squashing and hurting, the walking across the room, pressing the button to the machine to take 10 seconds, and another 10 seconds or so to come back and let me out.
Yeah.
And they do it 4 times because they do vertically and they squash, and then they do sort of horizontally as well.
Yeah, well, that's what they did with mine was the 4 times. And then when she looked at it, she said the first image wasn't very clear and we had to redo that one.
Oh. So what happens is, like, scans all done. So I get called in consulting room, and the lady surgeon, doctor there, she's like, okay, got good news. Good news. Absolutely nothing wrong at all. Now I've got a pamphlet for you. Now don't worry too much about the language. It's written for guys, and I know you. I can't remember which way she said it now. Like, I recognise you as a woman, but what you've got is in this pamphlet, and so don't worry too much about the language. and it turned out I had something called gynecomastia,
Gynecomastia.
Male breast growth, basically.
Yep.
And
it's actually fairly common.
Yeah, and apparently it's 1 in 1,000 chance side effects from one of the medications I get. And so it was quite comical, really, because, you know, as an atheist, I don't believe in meant to be, but I can see why people would sort of interpose that as a reason. It's almost like my body was saying, okay, I know you're going to be waiting for years before you get HRT. I'll get started without them.
Yeah, well, you know, Frank Turek had that thing, and he actually he had gender affirming surgery to take care of that. Sort of
I prayed to come down with gynecomastia.
Yeah.
Well,
high
and
school.
I actually can see about, you know, your body deciding to do that. You know, I don't quite understand it, but your brain can trigger other things to happen in your body if it's dwelling on them enough.
It's not your brain. It's just your makeup. Your body is reacting to something, and that's how it reacts.
Yep.
Well, lucky me. I actually, I had that condition, I guess, when I was entering puberty, and it was not fun in junior high school. Let me tell you.
I'm sure it was just horrible for being a kid in school.
It was very. I had a sore chest every fucking day for 2 years, basically.
Did you wind up wearing a binder or something?
It wouldn't have mattered to those assholes that were, you know, walking up to me and grabbing my tits. Because they, you know, it's like.
Well, that's why I was wondering.
I was an unusual girl. Let's put it that way, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It made me a recluse, basically. It's just.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty bad.
Well, for me, it wasn't.
And when I was at the hospital, there were support dogs, and so I got to go pet one and lay down, and it was really nice to me, and I loved it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, when Sloth Girl has her appointments at the cancer center, a lot of days there's a comfort dog there that this woman brings in, this, you know, beautiful little collie. It's not actually a collie, but it looks like a collie, but smaller. I forget what the breed is.
When I was in the inpatient for a week with my AFib issues, the local service dog kept coming up, you know, came to the floor every day. And by the end of the week, the thing was just running into my room and jumping up on the bed, which is totally against the rules, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. That's one thing I'm thinking, you know, with my surgery, I'm going to have a hard enough time to sleep in the hospital at all. But part of that is going to be that it's really weird for me to have to sleep anywhere without a cat on the bed.
Did you catch that video I uploaded on, I forgot if it was Fluffy Bunny or MidAmerica, of service dog breaking all the rules?
Yeah, I didn't have time to watch the whole thing because I got back here with, you know, less than an hour between getting back from my appointment and starting the stream.
Oh, let's play it for the audience. I know you hate it when I say that.
Well, no, if we can play it without, you know, like getting hit with a copyright thing.
No, it's just somebody's video.
Yeah, let's see. I think it's in the Fluffy Bunny one. I don't think it's. What the hell is Twitter doing now?
And everybody out in the chat, another piece of information for you to memorize and live with and perform. The words bunny and honey and anything that has the same similar spelling, the spelling has been changed. It is no longer B-U-N-N-Y, it is B-N-U-U-Y. And we want this to go worldwide, so everybody starts spelling it that way.
Why? Why would it be spelled any different than it was before?
Because we want it to be.
No.
Mage, can you get the video? It is in the MidAmerica chat, but Twitter is behaving very strangely for me. It's not going to the right links. I'm trying to click on the video, and it's just bringing me back to our show here.
Is this International Guide Dog Day?
Yeah.
Was this one that service dog meets his owner?
I'm sorry. What? Did I have the wrong one?
Unfortunately, oh wait, here we are. Let's see if I can get it to run.
No, actually, I think I did have the wrong one there.
Unfortunately, it does not want to run for me.
Okay, yeah, I was having the same.
Oh wait, I got it. Wait, I got it. I think I got it going here.
Twitter is weird.
Yep.
I do not like tribal. I can't fucking make this any larger. Why do you keep picking all these sites that are complete shit?
Well, it ran perfectly, and so I thought it would be just a regular upload. I don't know anything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's right. I had a problem with Tribal too. Mostly just because Tribal wanted to force me to make an account before it would let me watch anything.
Anyway, I can't bring it. I can't.
The golden retriever is falling in love with Cleo.
That's really cute.
It's just totally adorbs.
Yeah, just so excited rolling around on the floor.
No volume control other than mute. What the? I can't expand the size. I can't make this bigger.
Did I copy this from Tribal?
Yeah, this is off of Tribal.
Okay.
Okay, we'll have to play with it later and see if we can get Tribal to work better. I haven't used Tribal yet. Is the site worth anything?
I was originally liking it, but I don't know. I don't know that I like it very much. Nothing equals Twitter for ease of use and the sensibility of its interface. But
yeah, but it's lacking the DM systems.
Yeah,
that's all Blue Sky needs to do is add DMs, and I will,
Yep.
Yeah,
I'll be more over there than over in Twitter. I mostly use Twitter for DMs. I'm still there from time to time, but it's Twitter. I hate to say it, but enough people are still hanging there, especially people that I follow, that it's still a somewhat valuable source of information and news.
Yeah, Blue Sky kind of
ignore
lost
the bullshit
steam just because you couldn't private message anyone.
Yeah.
I'm the same thing. If Blue Sky would let me, make private message groups, then I wouldn't have any need to go on Twitter anymore.
Hear that, Blue Sky? Get your ass in gear.
Yeah. You know what?
God damn it!
Well, and Discord is the other way. Discord is basically only the private message groups and nothing else.
Nothing's perfect.
Yeah. Hey, Skits.
Skitsy.
Yeah, Skits, Ember, I think I already sent both of you links if you wanted to jump in for a while. Don't know what you've got going on.
Do you know, it feels like it's been ages since I've chatted with you.
Well, yeah, it's been at least... I don't know if I've talked to you since the Christmas marathon.
No, possibly not. I don't remember the. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
that's the
before
last
then.
time I remember.
Yeah, it was before that.
Yeah.
One of the big things I started doing karate.
Oh.
And that's been really good for my health. I've lost a chunk of weight. And also, there's an exercise regime at the start of it to, sort of, warm up.
Stretching and warm up.
And, I'm doing so much better with it. I mean, at first I get halfway through the exercise thing, which is maybe the first 10 to 15 minutes of the class. I get halfway through before, and I thought I would die. Now I can get all the way to the end before I think I'm going to die.
Yeah, well, that's making progress. You're getting in better shape. And your body's just getting used to it and getting the idea that, okay, we've done this before. This isn't going to kill us.
Yeah, unfortunately, so far my shape has been round.
I went to yoga classes and the instructor pulled me aside at the end of the first class and said, she said, wear sweat clothes, okay? Nobody wanted to see my leggings and stuff.
I did have a comical thing that in the club that I'm in, there's a young guy called Jack, and he is now the England champion in karate. And he's been invited onto the Olympics or the national team or whatever it is, which is quite an honor. Every now and again he'll show up and he will lead one of the training sessions because he's a black belt and the black belts generally do the training for us all. And and there's also like this girl who's about maybe 11 or something, and I think she might do acrobatics as well, so she can bend herself like a pretzel. So at the end of the session, when everyone's packing up, the older guys, the senseis, are in their like mid-50s now generally. They're sort of like sort of looking and thinking, oh my god, Jack, he's so young and strong and powerful. And I sort of look at him and I think, I'm never going to be able to do that ever again. I just don't. I'm too old. I don't have that kind of flexibility. And then you got the girl who can bend as like a pretzel. I'm just makes me feel old. I've just had to come to accept that I'm just an old man. And I quipped up and I said, I found the solution to that. Transition. I will never be an old man.
Yeah.
Don't do that to yourself, though. I hear stories all the time about these people who are in their 40s and 50s and had some sort of epiphany and start working out. And now they're doing marathons. There was a guy who just finished doing a marathon in every freaking state.
Yeah, I heard about
he's
him.
like mid-50s or something like that and was sick. And now he's not, and he's out there.
Yeah. I had a model railway friend in the UK who actually and he had a heart attack, and that was a kick up the backside of he needs to do something to solve his weight problem. And next thing I saw him like a year later, and he's like really skinny and muscly and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And he was in his 60s.
Well, I've never had, a lot of upper body strength, so I've always relied on my agility.
Oh, God.
So even though I'll be 60 in a couple of months, I'm still pretty flexible. But what you were saying about, that 11-year-old girl being able to twist herself around like that, I've actually been trying to envision that for my novel, of the main character developing a fighting style based on mixing karate and gymnastics.
I've got tales of upper body strength.
Kick your ass as long as there's a set of rings there.
As long as that was one of the biggest shocks to me in transition, how much upper body strength I lost, and how quickly it was lost. It was just it was remarkable. It was absolutely fucking remarkable. I had to in sailing, I had to relearn the sport completely. I had to completely relearn the physical moves necessary to be good at it. Because when you have that extra strength, it makes up for an awful lot of mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I at least had a lot of people warning me about it. So, from the beginning of transitioning, I got myself a couple of barbells, and I've been trying to work on it since I started, just to prevent that loss. But I'm seeing even with that, I think my arms have gotten skinnier.
Well, speaking about speaking about your story there, I do have one idea from a dream I had. These aliens, they don't travel space to explore. Instead, what they do is they use a means of mind swapping with people. So they mind swap with other people from other planets, and then they can explore the other planet through that person.
Hey, that was my whole cover story as a teenager. That I was an interplanetary student exchange, and I had just swapped bodies with somebody from Alpha Proxima Major.
Now that's a lie, don't you?
That's bullshit.
And they usually keep the other person, the one on our planet, in a sedated state, so they don't have any real experiences, like just blacking out to the person.
Oh no! For me, it was the whole thing that whoever it was that had this body before was just living a normal life on another planet and trying to figure out an alien civilization on their own. So they were going to have some interesting stories when we swapped back. That's why they agreed to do it.
Yeah, that was actually in the dream. This was one case where they didn't do that.
So how do you know that maybe the whole dream wasn't you being on that other planet in this suspended state while somebody else was using your body?
Because I was seeing it in the third person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ember's pointing out, same. I can barely lift 800-pound crates anymore, and I've only been on HRT for a couple of months. It's pretty fucking remarkable. The people that say that it's biology, you're biological. Yeah. It's like, just go try it. You go try it. You go figure it out. It's so much like the whole process is learning how to dance differently. It's just very strange.
Yeah, I actually thought that the whole physics thing about if you've got a lever and the more energy you've got to lift that lever.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, people who are trans often are quite tall, are much taller than cis women.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I've still, I've lost half my muscle mass, but I haven't lost half my weight or half my length. I'm effectively, my muscles are moving levers that are long, but the muscles are small, are less now.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a big drawback, not a benefit.
Yeah. Well, that was actually how I got by doing construction without so much upper body strength, is just understanding applied physics. That I surprised a lot of people, that I could move stuff guys twice my size couldn't move, just by understanding things like levers and momentum.
Yeah, the sign that showed me the most was, like crouching down, squatting down to going like the bottom of the fridge or something.
Yeah.
And then trying to get up, and it's like, okay, I can't get up anymore. I have to push off the floor or grab a counter to haul myself up.
Yeah, I am finding that I have more trouble getting up from the floor, and I usually need to find something I can grab to pull myself up.
I've managed to maintain, well, the nature of my job is such that I basically do deep knee bends all day, every day. And so at least the muscle tone. And that's the thing. The thing is, it's the amount of, it's really weird. If you really dig in to the biology of the whole thing, you just, the muscle fiber itself changes. The tone doesn't, but the fibers do. It's a whole bunch of stuff changes over time, and that's because of the way genes work. So yes, it is genetic. It's not a question of chromosomes. It's a question of the genes that are on them, and what the genes have to work with once they are activated, once they start working. What have they got to work with? If they're working with testosterone, they're going to work in one way, and if they're working with estrogen, they're going to be working in a different way.
Yeah, that's all what the epigenetics is about too. Is about which gene characteristics get activated.
Yeah.
But actually, since I've got a couple of the trans women here, I've got a question that I saw the doctor yesterday, and my estrogen did an incredible spike, like more than twice the level it had ever been before.
What happened to your T?
Oh, my T has been dropping all along. But I mean, just for it to have spiked that high, I didn't know if there was anybody else that had heard of things like that happening, or what could have triggered that.
I'm just sort of marveling at the idea of your estrogen being like a dog wagging a tail. It's like, oh, I'm seeing a doctor, wag, 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 kind of thing.
Yep. Actually, I do get like that. Yeah, but I mean,
that was really embarrassing when you started wagging your tail at that waiter.
I've been working with. We've been putting together a Discord server for our show, The Transpositions, and it's becoming fun. We're almost ready to open up stuff to the great and general public, but it's been fun.
There's nothing great about the general public.
Well, it's true. I think you got a point, Jenny, but.
Yeah, I know that your featured guest last week had canceled at the last minute, so you had to reschedule.
Yeah, darn it! But we're gonna try again on Sunday. We're gonna try to get. Try to get her.
I was surprised that the whole show got canceled, though. I still thought, still kind of expected Bree and Ember to get on there with some news items.
On Sunday? No, this was a showcase thing that I'm doing with Sarah Weiss, and no, the show's tomorrow at 8 Eastern.
All right.
The show's been going. We've only missed one because Bree was out of sorts and I was out of power. So put the two together and ain't much going on.
I do emergency fill-in work for lots of different shows. If you ever need, just get a hold of me.
Yeah,
we'll do.
Yeah, Jenny's always been good for that. But Godless Granny has done that with Jenny and I a couple of times. That when a guest couldn't make it, just pulled us on with a couple hours notice.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're gonna be on with Godless Granny. In May sometime, right? When is that? I forget.
Yeah, I'd have to go back through my Twitter and find it. I have so many.
Godless Granny says May 3rd.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah,
well, that's
Purple and Jenny are coming, so there you go. We've got something with Godless Granny on the 3rd of May, so stay tuned.
We do?
Yeah. Says here. I mean, I don't know.
If it's your show, I would expect you to know.
Oh, art from ignorance.
Yeah. Well, hard telling, not knowing, I guess.
I'm doing art from ignorance at 8 o'clock
Yeah, art against ignorance.
p.m.
Yep.
Yes, that's it.
Yep.
Yes, that is it.
And that is Central Time, folks.
Yeah.
Central Time. What is this Central Time?
I was thinking the same thing.
I really think that given the international nature of all of these things, we really ought to be sticking to coordinated universal time.
No, you see, the reason Central Time is what it is because when you take a look at the latitudes and longitudes and stuff, of course, I always forget which is the Cancer or the Capricorn, which is north. Steph.
Tropic. I think Tropic of Cancer is north and Tropic of Capricorn is south.
Yeah, I never remember which is which either.
I think,
as we know, from the equator north, the numbers start to go up as far as what latitude you're at, and up here in this neck of the woods of Wisconsin and Minnesota, we're at the 45 degree.
Yep.
So it's like right in the middle of the whole planet.
Yeah.
And we're also in Wisconsin. We're also in Wisconsin. We are at 90 degrees, which is the perfect opposite of GMT. So that's why Central Time matters and nothing else does.
Yep.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Most people don't realize how large Canada is, but if you include Canada, Minnesota is actually the geographic center of the continent.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that include the islands? In the Arctic, well, the islands up there, the Northwest Passage, all that whatever.
Yeah, well, I think Canada pretty much claims all of those, don't they?
They do.
Oh, I just
Canada is I believe, the second largest nation in land area on the planet. Is it not?
Folks, one of the things that the geographers and stuff like to do, all the map people and stuff, is they like to calculate or estimate, I imagine, how many miles of shoreline a given location has, a nation, a country, a state, an island, whatever.
Yep.
Who's got the longest shoreline in North America? Or I shouldn't say it that way. That's not correct. What inland lake has the biggest shoreline?
I would have to guess Superior, maybe, or maybe Michigan.
I would think it's Lake Michigan because Lake Michigan has the largest surface area.
Nope. This will blow you away. Now remember, we're talking shoreline.
Okay.
Lake of the Woods, Minnesota.
Really?
65,000 miles.
Maine has more
Maine has more coastline. There are so many islands.
Oh yeah, I suppose if you're counting the perimeter of all the little islands,
it's absolutely thick with them.
Yeah.
You were saying about clocks and time zones and things like that. Amusing little fact: that the railways played a massive impact in the sort of universal time kind of thing.
Oh yeah, well, the railways are really why we have time zones in the U.S.
So the way that it worked, because railways started at roughly the same time as they were coming up with these concepts, and so Greenwich, London, is where the zone starts. That is the center of everything is either positive or negative from that line. Well, what happened was, because of the way that the points that the sun goes down in different parts, the more west you go, the less reliable the clocks were. And it was only when they introduced railways, where you now can travel hundreds of miles in a day, And well, now we need to have the timetable to be the same everywhere, because if your clock is 2 hours longer because you're in Penzance, which is much further you're going in the sea.
That's where those pirates are.
Yes. So as the further west it went, the more out of the clocks were. So as a result, the railways were like, right, okay, this is the thing. And what would happen was that they would the train station would have a clock there, and everybody would go to the train station to set their timepieces.
Yeah. The whole city would go based on the train station clock.
Yeah.
You young people in chat, did you know that there used to be back in when we were all kids, to get the correct time you would dial 744 1414.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Give you a recording. At the tone, the time will be beep. And that's how
the tone. The time will be 7:42 and 20 seconds. Beep. It was a repeating message that did every 10 seconds.
I remember that when I was really little.
I didn't remember the number for it, but I remember calling that to set my watch.
And nowadays, with our phones and our TVs being all smart and hooked up, everything sets its own damn fucking clock.
Yeah, I don't have to do much of any changes.
Yeah, well, and a lot of electronics, especially if they have any kind of internet access,
except for my car,
will usually set their clocks according to the atomic clock in. Oh, I forget where. I'm thinking it's in Colorado.
I believe it's in Colorado in the United States.
The U.S. atomic clock.
Yeah.
So that's the clock that the U.S. military and basically the whole U.S. government sets by.
Yeah, and the GPS system too, which if we didn't have good ways of measuring time, we would not have good ways of knowing where the fuck we are on the surface of the planet.
Yeah, the GPS would not work if you were even like a minute off a sync, because that could, put you like 50 miles away from where it thought you were.
Oh, and for a minute, a hell of a lot more than 50 miles.
Yeah, a whole lot more than 50 miles, I would think. Yeah.
That's an interesting problem. I wonder exactly how much it would be. It just seems to me that it would be a whole lot more than 50 miles.
Yeah, well, I was guessing, but
I don't. If the equations of general relativity weren't taken into consideration, GPS would be inaccurate to about 40 miles, I believe.
Take a left turn into this lake.
Because time goes slower on the surface of the Earth than it does up where the GPS satellites are.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the GPS is all about.
Well,
trying to get satellites from 3 different satellites to locate where you are.
The satellites aren't telling you nothing. They're just providing a signal, and your GPS unit is what does all the calculations for where you are, how fast you're going, all that kind of stuff, based on the signal that it gets back from, or the timing of the signals. That's why it wants to hunt out like 3 satellites, 5 satellites, 6 satellites, so that it can triangulate more accurately.
Yeah, it needs to get a signal from at least 3 satellites to be able to figure out your position.
Well, back in the days of IDF, radio direction finding, which was another way of navigation that came into play once we had actual radio towers. That's what you would do. You'd search out a particular radio station, and there's this little box, and with an antenna on the top, and you'd move the antenna around it, you'd find a particular radio station, then you'd find another one, then you'd find another one, and you knew where the 3 of them were, so you could figure out where you were in relationship to them.
Yep.
It took a little bit. You needed a little calculator and stuff, and then they introduced LORAN. That was another electronic navigation means. And on distance races, you were required to have some sort of radio direction finder as late as the introduction of Loran, which I believe was in the 70s sometime. Finally got the Loran lines going. And Loran wasn't available everywhere, but on RDF was. You know, there were plenty of radio stations.
Well, that was one of the big issues with sailing ships.
Yeah.
That you know, a pendulum clock didn't work on a ship that's shifting side to side. So in England, they had offered, you know, a national prize. It was like 50,000 at the time, which would be, you know, equal to something like 5 million
Millions,
today.
yeah, millions of dollars.
Yeah, for somebody who could come up with a clock that would work on a ship at sea, you know, and give them accurate time for them to triangulate their position based on the stars.
And do you know who that someone was?
A guy named Westclock. No.
No. His name was Harrison, actually.
I couldn't remember the name.
I can't remember the first name, but they were the first. They were the first people that had a timepiece that was reliable at sea.
Yeah.
And those timepieces were huge.
For half a second, I was wondering if you were going to say Mr. Timex or something.
No, Mr. Rolex, I think. But the machines were big. The clocks were enormous.
Oh yeah.
I don't know why, but
I've seen ships' clocks that are in a box about 6-8 inches square.
Yeah, but the first
those were later ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the first ones were enormous. I think I can find a picture.
I don't know why. This is kind of reminding back when I was in Boy Scout. They had this little scavenger hunt thing, but the scavenger hunt was set up in a way that we had to use compasses to find where the next place was. The only problem is they set up the scavenger hunt field right over some power lines.
Oh.
So once we got to where the power lines were, it would throw the whole thing off.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah. I tried to do a compass hike in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and what they didn't take into account is that what the area was known for was the iron ore mines. So with all the iron deposits, you've got random magnetic fields going through the ground all over the place.
Now, the thing you did with the compass, we call that orienteering. Is that the same thing they called it in the US?
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
Yeah.
I remember learning all that kind of stuff in Scouts, and it's like, these days. Well, I have no sense of direction to begin with. Without my GPS, I could get lost going shopping still.
What a girl!
Actually, I'm well. It's still pretty big. For H1, the first Harrison clock was 63 centimeters high, 70 centimeters wide, 45 centimeters deep, and it weighed 34 kilograms.
Yeah, so about 2 feet high and 1.5 feet wide.
That's why time has always been considered so heavy.
That's what Marty McFly was talking about.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, never mind. I lost my words again. I've been having a lot of problems with words lately.
Here's a picture of the thing. I mean,
hey, this whole I just got to share this. You just made me remember. This whole thing with my thyroid and stuff. It all started because I complained to my doctor that I'm concerned about my memory loss and stuff. And apparently, with this particular thyroid thing, memory issues are a thing. Well, and it's been getting better, and by the numbers, and I'm forgetting the shit less.
Cool.
Good.
Yeah, that's great. So there's a.
Holy cow! That's
the
pretty.
H1, isn't it?
Yeah, with all the mechanisms exposed, they usually had to put it in a cabinet. They had to put it in a cabinet, of course, because they didn't want the seawater getting to it.
I should show you some one of these days. I'll walk around the loft and show you my sewing machine collection, my old sewing machine collection, get them all out. But I'm thinking about the aesthetics of mass-produced stuff. Like sewing machines used to have all this filigree on them, and they were really, really decorative, you know.
Oh yeah, I learned to sew on one of the old treadle machines.
Oops,
you know, and it's like the whole stand for it had all this decorative ironwork and everything.
Yeah, I taught myself to sew with the next version of that, which was basically the treadle thing, except for they put a motor on it.
Yep.
So the machine was exactly the same. It was only the motor attached instead of a pedal.
That's what my grandma had, that she originally had a treadle machine, and then like 10 years after she got it, they made the motors available. She had gotten hers adapted for the electric motor.
I have a machine like that. I have a sewing machine exactly like that. That's it's the old machine. It's got the treadle still, and it's got the motor attached.
Yep.
I'm gonna try and reteach myself how to hand sew.
Yeah, actually, Jenny, I was going to ask you about that. You said you do embroidery. And that's something I think I'd like to learn so I could, maybe like decorate some of my jeans or that. Oh, Jenny's muted now. So.
Have you seen those pictures on the web of the embroidery some people are doing on jeans, where they take your basic embroidery floss and stuff like that, and they create like a little garden coming out of a pocket. They're just really pretty vines that go down over the pocket and flowers all over, and it's just really cute.
Well, that's the jeans I'm wearing today. They have a little like chevron pattern that runs all the way down where the outside seam was. Okay, Ember is correcting me that the center of North America is actually in North Dakota. So it's the next state over from Minnesota.
Yeah, but we hate North Dakota.
Yeah, generally we don't even acknowledge the Dakotas exist except for Mount Rushmore.
Kristi Noem is going to be Donald Trump's next fuck because she wants to be vice president.
Yep.
God, is she a nasty woman.
Yeah, Ember, that's for me too. I've got to now learn how to alter my clothes.
Who's a nasty woman?
Kristi Noem. She's the governor of what was South Dakota or North Dakota? South Dakota.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about her.
She's terrible.
She's absolutely hates trans people.
Yeah, well, to be Trump's running mate, she'd have to be a bigot. That's kind of a requirement for the job.
Ember's got a story of apparently Greg Abbott went after this guy in Texas who's a teacher who I guess there was some sort of a challenge in his classroom somehow or another. I don't remember exactly what the story was. Ember's going to cover it, or at least we're going to talk about it. I'm going to look more deeply into it. We're going to chat about it. The guy shows up in drag, basically, so in his class, and he got disciplined, put on leave, and then got fired. And Greg Abbott made this whole big deal about it, and it's like Libs of TikTok, of course, picked up on it, and all of this other stuff. And it's just, don't you have anything better to concern yourself with? And
no,
all this stuff.
No, they don't care about the economy or any of these things. It's all about hating people. I've discovered in my time that there are many people. The only way they can figure out who they are is by contrasting with who they hate.
It's just stupid, you know. And I guess West Texas A&M. This was like 2 months ago. Andrew Seidel went down there. Americans for the Freedom from Religion Foundation or some, one of those things. Basically an ACLU type deal, and Seidel's constitutional or whatever. The dean of the college or the president of the college decided to cancel a drag show based on his, because it's not godly, it's not Christian, it's not all of this other stuff. So he went down and talked to the students down there and gave a great address. I got some clips from that are just great. He's sitting there talking about the normal stuff, and then he gets into what is drag. Well, is the earrings? I don't know. Is it a feather boa? Is that enough? Is it a pink shirt? Is that enough? And meanwhile, he was in the pink shirt, and he gets out the earrings, stick the earrings in his ears, and then he goes through. I've got this skirt here. Is that enough? And then I've already got the pantyhose on because just like the founding fathers, it's just a tremendous presentation. It's a great.
Is it on YouTube?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, I can drop a link to the.
Yeah, put a link in the private chat.
Yeah. It's the title of the thing is "Christian Nationalism is Un-American" with Andrew Seidel. It's great. It's a great thing.
Before, I'm familiar with the name. I just can't place where.
My mom was friends with the drag queen. I never met the guy though. As far as I know.
I just realized that.
Done.
Nice.
What were you doing?
I had to get a shitload of medications renewed, condensing bottles and ripping off labels because I don't want people to know what I'm taking and all that shit. And it just takes a little time to do it and a little rustly noise, but it's all done now, and I can just go smoke a cigarette if I want.
Okay.
Oh, why? As soon as I come on the stream, people talk about cigarettes.
Oh, Ember, how are you, darling?
I'm not going to smoke any because I haven't been allowed to all day because of the testing. So I won't have one now in your respect.
Oh, it's fine. I'm teasing. I'm doing okay with these things. I don't really have any cravings. It's.
Sometimes I wish I smoked. Then I could give up and I'd have more money.
The American Spirit is now up to like 12.23 a pack.
15 here.
Like,
ooh.
15. Well, there you go.
That's the cost of passing shield laws.
Yeah, I've been smoking American Spirits for years, and now I admit I was a tobacco snob. I really didn't want to smoke anything else. My friend Mary, who's giving me rides and stuff, she rolls her own cigarettes. And she buys this pipe tobacco at the gas station. Well, I've heard all the horror tales about that, and that's just such horrible quality tobacco. And and I've had other people who've bought that, and it really is terrible cigarettes. I don't want to smoke them. But I took one of hers, and I couldn't tell the difference between that and American Spirit. So now instead of $15 per pack, I spend $10 for a couple pounds, and I go through a couple of hundred papers or so before I have to buy more.
So Kenny,
I used to do that before I started truck driving because it's impossible to roll a cigarette in a moving truck.
Kenny, I have to ask you: do you have Prince Albert in the can?
And shouldn't you let him go?
I really shouldn't say.
Yes, and no incriminating things on a live stream.
Prince Albert. Prince Albert.
We're not talking about that, Prince Albert. Get your minds out of the gutter, chat. Jesus Christ.
Prince Albert is in my bedroom, tied up to the post.
Okay, I just looked it up. The rough price for cigarettes in the UK is about 21 and a quarter, so $21 equivalent.
I'm also down to about 3 to 5.
My late fiance used to roll her own. When we were living in Syracuse, I'd drive to the Indian reservation, and she'd get the American Spirit.
When I went down to
can.
Kentucky for the eclipse, I stopped at a gas station, bought some cigarettes. They were like $6 a pack.
Yeah, the state you want is North Carolina, because that's where R.J. Reynolds. You drive down 95, you drive right past the R.J. Reynolds world headquarters, and there's a big pack of Winston and a big pack of Salem.
Well, that was the thing about going down to the Indian reservations, was that they didn't have any state tax on them. Which saves something like $2 a pack,
or considerably. So when I was over the road this past fall, Missouri defeated everything else. Some states are under $6 a pack, but in Missouri it's like $4.25 a pack, depending on what you get. I tend to smoke really cheap stuff because I've been poor for a very long time.
Well, I don't object too much to heavy tax on cigarettes and alcohol and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because there are definitely optional things in life. You don't have to consume.
Yeah, they're luxury items.
And in this particular state, a lot of that money goes into Medicaid, so poor people can get health care and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on it myself, and I've seen how good it is and how essential it is when you're absolutely butt fuck broke. So hey, I'll pay tax on that.
That makes sense, having those kind of higher taxes going into medical stuff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know there's a pretty stiff tax on my whiskey. I don't complain about it.
There's an interesting thing that they're looking to do in the UK, which is possibly the only thing that I am in favour of with this government. And that is they're looking to ban cigarettes for anybody born now. So anybody born today will never ever be able to smoke.
That's bullshit. People are going to smoke if they want. They're just setting up people to be criminals.
Yeah,
Prohibition doesn't work.
If you ban something, you're just creating a black market for it.
No, they're not. They're only banning it for people born now. So if you smoke now, you'll be able to smoke until you die. But
doesn't matter.
16 years from now, a child that would normally be allowed to buy cigarettes can't.
Yeah,
that's not going to work.
But one of us old fuckers will buy cigarettes and then sell them to the children at a substantial markup. It won't actually do anything except create a black market.
Yeah, it's like when the U.S. declared prohibition. The only thing that accomplished was creating organized crime.
Yeah, people could hide it well.
Well, if there's enough of a profit involved, somebody's going to organize a network to distribute it.
And in Prohibition,
I did that with cigarettes.
In Prohibition, it was not illegal to have alcohol and drink it. It was illegal to sell it.
Correct.
Yeah, you were still allowed to make it in your own home for your own family.
Maybe.
And Al Capone went down for
tax fraud,
tax evasion, not RICO or anything like that. Well, RICO didn't exist.
What's that noise?
My blood pressure cuff.
Oh, okay.
Really done in a little bit.
Yeah, no big deal.
Amendment.
I have to identify the noises.
The amendment prohibited the manufacture, sale, transport, import, or export of alcoholic beverages, but if you happen to have some, you could drink it.
And that sounds fair.
Yeah.
You know, if I happen to have pot, I'll smoke it. I asked the nurse today if she wanted to come over to my place tonight and we'll drop some acid. She said no.
Yeah, prohibition of any substance, particularly any natural substance, is rather stupid in my view. It's banning plants is rather dumb. It's because they grow, for example. Like, that's why I don't. Mushrooms shouldn't be. I mean, I can see maybe refining the stuff. Okay, but like grape juice ferments. Cider ferments. You're gonna have the stuff around. I mean, seriously, folks.
I remember one time that a gallon of cider was forgotten in the garage for more than a year, and we found it.
Mm-hmm.
It had
you looked like drunk porcupines.
Well, of course, I was only like 13 at the time.
Yeah.
Doorknob, it does work for other things, not just blood pressure. You just got to get a longer strap.
No,
last
time
I had one of these stress tests. I had it at Mayo Clinic, and they do it differently than Gunderson. Gunderson has you sitting in this chair for infusions and stuff, and Mayo has you laying flat out like Jesus on the cross, and they clamp blood pressure cuffs all over you. Did you ever know that there was a blood pressure cuff for your toe?
No, I didn't know they made them that small.
Well, they do. I just laughed my ass off when I saw that.
I think the cutest thing I've seen, I went for a blood test, and the strap they used to, get your veins to show, had little pictures of little vampire faces on. I said, "Oh my gosh, it's got vampire faces," and she looked at it and went, "I've been using this for 6 years. Never noticed that before."
When I get my blood drawn for any one of the myriad of reasons that I do, I've had so many. I decided a time back to let's keep count and see. So that stretchy rubber thing they put around your arm, use once, throw away. Yeah. I've been saving them, and I tie them onto my purse where the strap comes onto my purse. And I got this big wad of them now. It's about a 4-inch round knot of them. It's getting a little unwieldy. I think I should do something about it.
Okay, now I need an emoji that's just the classic smiley face with vampire fangs.
There is one.
I figured somebody had to make one at some point.
So, aging hippies here. How do you feel about all the student demonstrations going on around the country now?
I'm more concerned about the fact that the Supreme Court is trying to make them illegal.
Yeah, well, that won't work either.
It
could work. I mean,
yeah.
It's reminded of Kent State, which was that was in April of 1970. And I remember
it only takes one guy to lose his nerve and pull a trigger.
Well, the Supreme Court is letting a lawsuit go through that would hold the organizer of the protest liable for any damages done.
Oh, yeah, that.
Well, you just don't have an organizer.
Yeah, have a disorganized demonstration. Perfect.
That is such bullshit. So you set up a protest. One person who goes there to actually start trouble, which you do get hit, and that's such bullshit.
Yeah, that's it. Again, the fact that they even let this lawsuit continue, it just shows that they don't care, and they really don't want people to have rights to object to anything the government does.
I mean, I remember so so distinctly well. The whole the occupation of Columbia University in '68, because Columbia University was trying to basically gentrify or kick out a whole bunch of. I don't know if you guys realize where Columbia is. It's in Harlem, and Columbia was trying to kick a whole bunch of people out of their apartments in Harlem so that they could expand the university. And the students got a little bit perturbed by that, and there was an occupation, and there was a split between the black students and the white students about where the focus ought to be, because the SDS at the time was focusing on broader topics like the war and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I sort of went down this deep dive. But my hat's off to the kids. Go for it. Just make it happen. I mean, it isn't nice to block the hallways. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail.
Isn't
Malvina Reynolds, 1964. Let's go. Let's make this happen.
Isn't there an amendment about freedom of assembly?
Yeah,
it's
in the Constitution, but the Republicans are trying to find ways that, without actually having to change the amendment, they can just make it so difficult to protest that no one will be able to do it.
Well, they passed that law in some cities and counties and things.
Yeah, you can protest as long as you do it 3 blocks away behind this one building next to the dumpster.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And even for some of the political conventions, they have had designated protest areas, that you're literally like behind a chain link fence a block away.
Yeah, meanwhile the big orange menace is telling all of his folks to show up. Where are all the people? The police are keeping all my people away from demonstrating at the court, and it's blah blah blah. I don't see any demonstrations. Meanwhile, up at NYU and Columbia, these the undesirable elements are protesting. Blah 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 blah. Like, hey Don, careful what you wish for. Just waiting for this big crowd of people who's like don't like the orange menace to show up and say, but throw that guy in jail.
Okay, now see, there would be an instance with this thing the Supreme Court let go through, that then couldn't you cite Trump as being the organizer and hold him responsible for any damage that the protests did?
Oh, you mean like when he tweeted out, come to Washington, D.C. on the 6th of January, it'll be wild?
Yeah.
Keep in mind, Red Wing, this works both ways.
Excuse me. You will have to get Congress to pass a law to that effect, because Congress is in charge of law creation and enforcement for Washington, D.C.
It is true.
So you mentioned that to the Republicans and have them get that going.
Yeah. Anyway.
Hey, I'm all for free love. I've never charged for it.
I only charged once.
I've gotten paid twice. I never charged for it. They just tipped me.
Why would I not charge?
Distinction without a difference.
Well, if you're selling it, just remember to set up a camera.
Oh God, who? Oh Jesus Christ, George Santos. Have you seen this? George Santos has put out a video where he, he does it. He's a member of that group that does videos for people or phone answering for people and charges them for it.
Yeah.
Well, he has done one for NAMBLA.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
No!
Where he specifically says he endorses it and how many good things that they've done for the country and
good things. What?
It's good thing. Well, exactly. Jeez Louise.
This is someone who needs a minder to sort of say, you know what, this probably isn't a good idea.
Okay, I think for the sake of the audience, somebody has to explain what NAMBLA is, and I really don't want to do it.
North American Man-Boy
Man-Boy Association, yeah.
Basically, they're a group that want to have it legal to date little boys.
Yeah,
They wanna
they're
be
trying
Catholic.
to normalize adult men dating preteen boys.
Not a stellar group.
Yeah,
No.
Well, they're trying to claim that it is against their constitutional rights to ban them from doing that.
Yeah. Well,
They're-
and all the way back to the 80s, they were trying to wedge themselves into the LGBT groups, saying that they're just another alternative sexuality, so they should have the same protections.
Mm-hmm.
No.
I've heard that argument a couple of times. They were saying that, you know, if you like a person of the same sex, you like a person of every sex. They're just expanding that to age. That's all.
There's a big difference in that is that you
Mhm.
can't have consent. You have a very high chance of causing psychological and possibly even in physical harm in that kind of relationship. No.
Yeah, well, the key is fully informed consent, and you can't get fully informed consent from a child because they can't really comprehend the possible outcomes of this.
Well, okay, so consent varies depending on what you're talking about, but in this case, we're referring to age of consent, which specifically has to do with sex. Like,
Yeah.
there's different ages of consent for different things. Like taking a job, in most states you can do that at 16, and some you can do it at 14, and some you can do it earlier if it's an agricultural job. So, age of consent, people get confused about this all the damn time because everyone uses it as shorthand and then forgets that it's shorthand. It's specifically talking about sex. Other things, the age of consents are different depending on what the thing is.
I heard a kid at the hospital today. I was sitting waiting for my prescriptions to get ready, and him and his grandma or mom or whoever it was sitting there on the bench. And my back's turned to them, but I can hear them perfectly well. And the kid says to the adult, I'm really not sure of the relationship. Kid says to the adult, well, the day I turn 18, I want to make a baby. Okay, because my grandmother might not live very much longer, and she won't be able to see a grandchild. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? 18 years old, kid? You're going to ruin your fucking life.
It's really weird.
Well, I always get weirded out when I hear about these things about, you know, that these men have had a relationship that was strictly not sexual, but they got married as soon as the younger person turned 18.
Okay, here's the punchline.
You know, that's definitely grooming.
The adult asks the kid, well, where are you from? Arkansas.
Oh.
Okay, that all makes sense now.
Yeah, unfortunately, well,
I need to check. Is this an Arkansas joke or a Bill Clinton joke?
No, this is not a joke at all, unfortunately. It's dead serious and horrible.
Yeah. And while the legal age of sexual consent is supposed to be at least 16 in every state, there are states that will allow people under 16 to get married. How is that supposed to work?
Well, they go in front of a preacher.
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
Yeah, child marriage is legal in 43 U.S. states, and 7 have no age minimum at all.
Yep.
As long as the parents sign off, you're married, and once you're married, age of consent goes out the window.
Well, and in a couple of states...
So you can consent to marriage at 9, apparently.
Yep. In a couple of states, they have killed some nasty bills by tacking on a thing about, you know, raising the marriage age to 16. And in several states, as soon as they added that to it, the Republicans dropped the bill and wouldn't have a vote on it.
Mm-hmm. While screaming, protect the children.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's the hypocrisy of the whole thing. That say, "Oh, those trans kids can't possibly be able aren't old enough to make a decision like this, or so it's permanent." Yeah, well, so is getting married and getting pregnant and having children. You know,
Well,
you fucking asshole lying sacks of shice. And
that was also the argument with abortion. You know, was that banning abortion, and it's like, yeah, a teenage girl, you know, is too young to have an abortion, and it's like, well, wasn't she too young to get pregnant in the first place?
Well, you know, I remembering Griswold, it's like, yeah, well, it's just all based, it's all rooted in misogyny and idiocy.
It's religious. God wants them to get married and have children.
I mean, before Griswold, you couldn't, and they want to go back there, of course. You couldn't use birth control. Even married women didn't have access to birth control.
Yep.
And that was what the Griswold case was about. Is that it made it legal for married people to have access to birth control, and it took another 3 years, I believe, or more.
And the argument for birth control is the same now as it was 100 years ago. Yeah. Women have control over their bodies. They have control over their lives.
Yeah, that's what the Republicans don't want.
Beholden to everybody. Yeah, they don't want women to have any freedom whatsoever.
I mean, sitting members of Congress have actively questioned whether women should be allowed to vote.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there were people at CPAC this year saying that they need to rescind women's right to vote.
Yep.
Okay, on the bright side of this, polls are showing specifically suburban white women have had enough of this shit.
Good.
That they don't want to vote for the Republicans anymore, and they definitely don't want to vote for Trump.
But he's such a nice guy.
Yeah, so that could be the demographic that could change the election in several swing states.
There are people who are predicting that it's going, because of Roe, that this election is going to skew so heavy to the Democrats that it's going to go down in the history books as the most radical election ever. In terms of stuff,
I hope so.
There are people who are saying that there's going to be 60-70% of the population is going to go for Democrat.
I'm hoping that will happen. I'm hoping that we're going to get a record voter turnout that's going to, you know, tip it like that. But I am still nervous.
Oh, absolutely, because the Project 2520 or 2025 is no fucking joke. And even if that doesn't go through somehow, even though they're public about the fact that it's all ready to go, it just needs a signature from the president on day one, and it's implemented. But even without that, we saw what Trump's last term looked like, and he's gotten even more batshit crazy in the 4 years since. So yeah, it's kind of terrifying. But on the plus side, people remember Roe. It keeps coming up every time these genius Republicans try to pass another abortion ban in their states. People go, oh, why is this coming up? Because of Roe versus Wade. And people are pissed about that. And survey after survey after survey is showing that people are sick of the anti-trans bills, too. Another story coming up this week on transpositions is another state failed to pass a single piece of anti-trans legislation this year. And that's phenomenal. But people are sick of Republicans' shit.
If you have a link for the upcoming show, please drop it in the side chat there.
So the result of the hush money case says, and while it's kind of a small case compared to some of the other stuff Trump is facing, I mean, that could actually also swing the results of the election as well.
Well, I think there's reason to be optimistic, but I think we all have to keep pounding each other to get your ass out there and vote.
Yeah, that's the biggest risk. Is
so did you just say we should be pounding each other's ass to go out and sorry.
Oh yeah,
that's correct.
Do you know what?
I've
Do you
been
know what?
working on. Sorry.
The thing that makes this
Go ahead.
Trump thing so hilarious for me is, so back during the Vietnam War, there was a South Korean politician that wasn't following the American line, shall we say. And so the CIA decided that they would discredit the guy to make him out as if like he was a womanizer who was having affairs with some other woman on the side. But what they didn't realize is that the social system is different there. So a politician getting some action on the side is like, get on, go ahead, brilliant, well done, Whereas even the mere suggestion of it in the West would be like someone would resign just at the suggestion of it, let alone the actuality of it.
Well, not anymore.
When you look at Trump, the whole grab him by the pussy thing, it's like, that's just Trump being Trump. We know what Trump's like. Him saying that is like, wet water's wet and, the Queen is posh and caviar's expensive. It was not. So it made me chuckle. And the same thing is still the case. The sort of thing, if they did, if it had come out and been like, yep, Trump had an affair on the side. That's Trump. It's not going to not want to vote for him because, I'm an idiot. But and I just like, wow, they effectively he's in court for a thing he didn't even need to do because most people wouldn't give a shit because it's just, that's what Trump's like.
On the other
The
hand,
good news from the trial, the judge has decided that all the recording and information from the infamous camper statement is going to be admissible into court.
Yeah, I saw that the other day.
But while Trump, they would just shrug it off. If Biden's son had an affair, it was the only thing Fox would talk about for a month.
Yeah.
Yeah, you notice how non-happening anything Hunter Biden is. It's like there's nothing there.
Yeah, they realized that they couldn't find anything criminal on him. So, now most of the Republicans are trying to distance themselves from the Roe versus Wade thing and trying to say that they never supported the Hunter Biden investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they weren't there on January 6th, and they never chanted "lock her up" and etc.
See, but they really did do those things.
What?
They really
they're lying. Yeah, weirdly.
I know.
So I'm multitasking while we're doing this. I'm editing a video, but also I'm like finding a clip from Joe Rogan a few days ago. He had Tucker Carlson on, and it went super mega viral, and so I don't care about that. But in there, Tucker went on this little mini rant about how lying is always wrong, lying is morally bad, and it makes you a bad person to do it. Tucker Carlson saying that, I'm like, I need that clip.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with a street preacher, and I said, do you think lying and stealing are wrong in every circumstance and every situation? And he said yes. And I said, well, I can give you an example where both of those things are the most moral things to do. So the first one being, no, Mr. Nazi, there aren't any Jews in my attic. Perfect example of lying, saving lives. Stealing. If I've got a friend who's showing some mental instability and is talking about, taking his gun and going on a mass shooting, if I steal his gun so he's unable to do it, I am saving not only the people's lives he might have shot, but probably his as well. Because, usually they end up shooting themselves or get shot by the cops.
Yeah.
So if you ever have occasion to do that, be sure to take the gun right over to the police station and say, here.
Yeah.
Person.
Yeah.
But, and it's like, and this streeter is like, no, it's still wrong. Like, what? And again, it's just this two-dimensional, it's wrong, full stop.
Yeah.
It's a really poor argument.
I do remember seeing
Absolutely.
I do remember seeing the clips of Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan recently.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. I had a bear of a time trying to track down the original episode because searching for it yields all these channels who've reacted to it. And I'm like, I don't want that though.
Just remember, anytime somebody quotes Joe Rogan, just be sure to mention to them, well, isn't he the guy who said on his international radio show or podcast, whatever you want to call it, that he self-fillets?
Oh well, Joe Rogan.
Is that what he takes HRT for?
What Joe Rogan was saying wasn't even in the best part of that, though. It was what Tucker Carlson was saying.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he went off on a totally nutter butter territory. Owen was covering it this morning. Not only did he deny evolution on a national fucking radio show, but before that, he was going off on how aliens are real, but they're actually demons.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan?
Okay.
No, Tucker.
Tucker Carlson.
Joe is being skeptical, which kind of blew me away because Joe is the most credulous motherfucker there is.
Boy, Tucker's.
You could tell him Santa really lives at the North Pole and he'll believe you.
Tucker's viewership must be horrible for him to be going after the evangelical crazies. He's seen what they do.
Well, I mean, they've been his audience for how long did he work at Fox News?
I don't know. I didn't keep track.
Like, that's the only people who want to hear from him ever.
He took over after the O'Reilly fucker left.
Yeah, he was at Fox for like a year, then O'Reilly... Well, he got the job at Fox because the programming director who didn't like him got fired for sexually harassing interns and shit. And so he got like the 9 p.m. slot or something. And then Bill O'Reilly got fired for sexually harassing the coworkers. And so Tucker got bumped into Bill's spot. Like, this is how assholes like Tucker constantly fail upward. They surround themselves with incompetent, horrible people and hope that they get kicked off first.
And the interesting thing with the Fox News
rises to the top.
The interesting thing with Fox News and all that is they actually don't believe the crap that they spew on there. If you actually,
absolutely.
We've had some of these leaked emails from the trials and all that, and we find out that they're saying Trump is full of shit. He's crap, behind the scenes.
Which is why they had to.
I believe that Tucker Carlson said that he despised Trump.
Yeah. He used to say that. Yeah. Now he says he's always loved Trump, but that's political bullshit. And lying is bad, remember. But Tucker Carlson. But in relation to Tucker Carlson.
Moscow sucking off Putin.
Yeah.
That's why Fox had to declare in court that they were an entertainment network, not a news channel.
Yeah, and they got sued about something Tucker said, the Dominion voting scandal, I believe it was. And they said in court that no reasonable person would take anything Tucker Carlson says to be a statement of fact.
Yeah.
That was before the Dominion scandal. That was some other thing.
Well,
but yeah, they actually, there is actual court testimony to say that everything that Fox has on there is bullshit. It's just, jeez.
Yeah, because there's no regulation over what you can call news in the U.S.
I don't know which is worse, outlets like Fox News or the New York Times. The New York Times is the gray lady that pretends to it's all fairness, but then they put out these fucking stories that are just on the one hand, these people want to kill everybody. On the other hand, these people, isn't there some middle ground? It's like, come on, you idiots! No.
Yeah. Why won't you liberal Nazis? Because that makes sense. Compromise with the people who want to see you all exterminated. Like, why you got to be so absolutist about it with these exterminationists? Why can't you find a middle ground? Like, maybe we can just kill half of you. Would that be fair? Could we agree on that?
I was thinking the middle ground was instead of killing us, they'll just stab us and leave us bleeding in the street.
I mean, that's our healthcare system.
Yeah, that's our healthcare system.
Yeah.
I hear Mordor has great grocery stores.
Okay, so the policy is we're going to shoot you, and if you survive you're home free. But how will they know that they already shot you once?
Well, they shoot you with a special triangle-shaped bullet that leaves a pink mark.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like.
You can't. You're talking about Fox News lying about stuff. You can't. And you can't just go for the other ones. That. I mean, I remember an episode of Rachel Maddow's show, and I really like Rachel Maddow. And one of the stories she had was that a U.S. Air Force cargo plane was coming from back from Iraq to the U.S., and that they'd stopped in Scotland to get fuel, but also they stayed the night. Yeah, and rather than just stay at the hotel at the airport, they were ordered to go like 45 minutes, in a taxi or something, to a Trump resort. But then she went and added the idea that stopping at this airport was incredibly rare because, they could refuel in Germany or Britain, like Mildenhall or somewhere like that, to refuel, and that would be cheaper than buying it from Scotland. It's like, no, this bit is not true. I'm into planes. I know these things. Yeah. And, the range of of that aircraft, it didn't have enough range to get all the way into the US. So even if the last place it refueled at was, in England, a military base in England, Mildenhall, then it would have to stop at Nova Scotia or somewhere like that in order to be able to get into continental the US. So, like I say, it's like, the story was crew got ordered to stay at a Trump hotel, making him richer. That's the story. But the other stuff that was added on, it's like, no, this isn't true. Where do you get this information from? You could go to airlines.net, put in Prestwick and US Air Force, and find a bajillion pictures.
Yeah, you're getting all the stuff directly from St. Petersburg headquarters of the FSB. That's where they're getting the stuff from. And just
yeah. So like I say, the story there is, don't think that like Fox are the bad ones and the other ones are good. No, they are also just as likely to fluff up a story to sort of put a bit more of a bias into it.
Yeah, they want to wait
that Fox News is the Republican propaganda, and CNN and MSNBC are the Democrat propaganda channel.
Yes,
it's a reasonable argument to make.
Yes, they are.
Yeah, they want to load it so it leans more to their side.
Yeah.
Well, it's all entertainment to a certain degree, but on the other hand, when you're in a situation where you have one side that's so distinctly eliminationist in so many of its positions, it's hard to say that the side the propaganda on the side of the angels isn't telling a little bit more of the truth than the propaganda on the side of the people that want to restart up concentration camps and keep everybody out. Make sure that the illegals don't come into the country. Like this.
Okay, I need to know. I need to know. I just need to know, is a fluffer some slang for something?
Yes, a fluffer is a person who works on a porn set and makes sure the male actors are ready to go.
Oh, fluffer.
Okay, right, okay.
It was my dream job, but I never got it.
Damn
it. Someone's got to do it,
It's true, and it
there's
better
someone
than
out there
being an actor sometimes.
Someone out there just a trifle more.
Well,
I don't know.
But the reason I never got the job was in the auditions. I always followed the money shot.
You know what? I just have this sort of amusing thought about, what do they actually do? It's like, I need more Viagra over here, stat.
Well, that's the tricky part, is you have to keep them ready, but never let them actually because then they have to go through the recharge time, right? So you have to be like a master of edging in order to do that job successfully.
Oh, they could practice on me.
Oh, excuse me.
Ah, yes.
Okay, who on the chat doesn't know what edging is?
It's when a gardener
Amber
finds
will
a very
explain-
special lawn.
Amber will explain it to you.
That is the thing.
Well, yes, and well, you have to trim the hedges just right, to have the right shape.
Engine is playing with the popo hole around the edge, so to speak.
Going back to the politics thing, I did find it interesting how CPAC had full-on neo-Nazis in this time, and it's like they just don't care about the optics anymore. It doesn't matter.
I don't get how any of them can call themselves Christians after attending the CPAC where they literally had a golden idol of Trump, and they're still supporting him. If you have read the Bible, how can you continue to support this?
Well, I mean, it's not only that. I mean, they use the Bible as a weapon. It is a tool to attack people, and that's a form of idolatry.
Yeah. Who are you to question?
There are as many Jesuses as there are Christians. We've been arguing about religion for 10,000 years, and it's time, perhaps, we just stopped and started asking the fundamental questions. Is this harming people, or is this helping people?
Yeah.
It's just
would our society be better without
simple.
it?
It's I always find American politics somewhat bizarre, because in the UK we really don't religion isn't a big powerful thing. It may be that several hundred years of people fighting over the souls of the populations, Catholics versus Protestant stuff, but we just don't talk about it. And so we've got local elections coming up, and we're going to have a general election later this year as well. And in that, I don't know what 90% of the MP's religion is, or whether they have one at all.
Well, you have the Church of England, so everybody is automatically born into the same religion there.
Well, it's not like that, because there are a lot of Catholics here.
If you guys don't get rid of Rishi, I am going to have serious doubts about your country.
Oh. Yeah, he's gone. I mean, I'm suspecting, there is a plot within the Conservative movement. The local elections are going to happen at the start of May, and the Conservatives are going to do really badly, because they've been doing really badly. There's been a number of by-elections. They've lost all but one. But in so the idea is that they're keeping him. Lots of people are not happy with him. So Conservatives, this is within the party, and so local elections are going to happen. The Conservatives are going to lose badly, and then they're going to have a little sort of like, okay, this guy isn't working for us, let's get rid of someone else. And so they're going to end up putting someone like Penny Mordaunt on, who's much more reasonable. And then when the general election comes and they lose anyway, because they're going to lose, then that's the opportunity to get rid of her and put someone really crazy in there, like Cruella Braverman. Suella Braverman is her name.
Oh, God.
She's a nutcase.
And they're all awful. They're just all awful. And that's the whole thing about the whole Trump thing, is people got to start thinking beyond that asshole.
Yeah.
And they are. I mean, we're gonna wind up. I think that the current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, is smart, which is terrifying, because he's also a Seven Mountains guy, and his his brand is totally Christian nationalist, aka Nazi.
Yeah.
He's just awful, just awful, but he's smart and awful.
Well, Laura, what
He
you were saying,
played the Republican Party perfectly with the defense bill.
Mm.
Since the thing with the Project 2025 thing, what I can't seem to get is what's stopping them from just shelving it if they don't get their guy through this year?
oh yeah, that's all
Yeah,
they'll do.
exactly.
Yeah,
What's
they'll
stopping
keep
them?
it going in the background as much as they can until they can get somebody in power to approve it.
They've been doing it for 60 years.
That's what I mean.
I
mean, if
these
you know,
the program that they're putting forward now is no different from that of the John Birch Society in 1960.
that's what I
no
mean.
different.
What's stopping them from shelving it until they can get somebody in?
Nothing, and
Well,
that's exactly
they
why we
don't-
need to have our massive election, getting rid of Republicans, because the only way we're
They
going to
don't-
stop this is to get them out of the majority of as many locations, state houses, House of Representatives that we can.
You
They
think
are-
that you think
they-
you
as
think
long
that
as-
districts.
you
As
think
long
that's
as they have that
everything.
control, we're at their mercy.
you think that's viable in any kind of long term situation the way we have things
It has to
structured?
be.
It has to be.
It has
one
to
of the
be.
choice.
It's not.
If-
There's no way we're going to do that. Not in the
I-
long term.
I think there
You
Not-
know,
not with
look,
Democrats.
Mage, the determination to undo everything about. Let's even go back to the New Deal. The determination to undo that stuff has been there since the 30s. For 90 years.
The Republicans
They want to demolish Social Security. It's not stopping with Medicare. They want to demolish all of these things that Franklin Roosevelt achieved. They want to literally that guy said we want to make government small enough so that it can drown it in a bathtub. They mean it, and they've meant it for 90 years.
No,
Stephanie,
Stephanie, please.
Sorry.
They have meant it for 90 years. Yes, that's true, but it's been much longer than that. They want to get rid of things that Teddy Roosevelt did, as far as with the Teapot Dome scandals and some of the progressive things that were laid onto corporations, like vacation time and sick pay and, treating people like humans. They want all of that gone, all of it.
And they don't have people that are sitting there saying, well, we can't expect that would ever work. They've expected it would work in time, and they've been working on it. If you look at the players, and if you look at the through line of the people involved in this stuff, we'll just go back to the 30s. George H.W. Bush's daddy tried to engineer a fucking coup.
Yep.
I don't see how we're going to stop this unless our system is completely restructured.
Yeah, but you're not going to be
then
able
we
to
restructure our incomplete system. That's what we need to be determined.
It will take years for it to be restructured, and it will not be restructured at all if they get in office.
And it will not be restructured even in years if we give up and say it'll never happen. We need to keep working it.
But we're not doing
Don't
anything.
take your foot off the accelerator when it comes to social
We're
justice.
not doing anything to make any changes, though. We just keep going in the same cycle over and over again.
Okay.
All right,
the one
give
thing
up
I
then.
think I think is a significant change is that a couple of states have implemented the ranked choice voting. And
including mine.
Right. That's going to have to be implemented state by state. But I think when the majority of states have that implemented and the major parties have to pay attention to the idea that, hey, there's a chance a third-party candidate could get elected. That's the change we need.
I'm not saying this is.
It'll definitely help a lot.
I'm not saying we should give up. I'm saying as a matter of warning.
Yeah. No, and
don't set our expectations too high, but don't get too consumed by doom and gloom either.
Yeah,
Right,
the
exactly.
Remember,
That's
priority
what
what
I'm
on
happened to the
the ranked choice
Federalists?
voting.
What happened to the Whigs?
Let
There
Purple
are
Rhyme-
parties that are no more now.
Yeah, I think we should put the priority on the ranked choice voting, because I think that's going to be the way we're going to see the fastest change in our system, because that will actually allow for there to be more than two parties.
I agree, and the biggest thing about ranked choice voting is that it forces the the politics, and it forces government into, you need to have a governing majority. You can't elect someone as a minority, like Paul LePage in Maine, for example. That's why we have ranked choice voting. Paul LePage got elected, I think twice, because there was a third party candidate that took away enough of the margin from and LePage is a fucking lunatic. It took away enough so that he got elected with like 46% of the vote. That's not a governing majority, but give him the power, and you put anybody in power and they can do whatever the fuck they want because they have the levers of power. You got to keep these people away from those levers of power. So I agree with you, Purple. I think that's at least one decent step.
Well, and I think
And
that's something that, now that a couple of states have it, people are going to see how that affects elections. And that's the thing, that nobody wants to try anything new. They want to see the results of something before they implement it.
That means you can probably expect a lot of smearing of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, from both parties. Both parties are going to be pushing against it because they don't want there to be a third party. That just makes their, job of getting someone elected more difficult. It might even force them to start talking about the actual issues that affect their constituents.
If we've learned anything over the last political period of, say, about 10 years now, I hope shit, I'm forgetting. I'm going to have to come back. I'm sorry. It disappeared.
It's okay. But yeah, this whole business about, fighting for it and then trying to re-implement the plan later, this goes back to before we had a country. What Thomas Jefferson said, that the price of freedom is eternal vigilance.
Yep.
That, the minute enough people stop paying attention, the government's going to do something to fuck you over.
No, don't say the government. Okay, be realistic about it. Controlling the opposition when they are in control.
Yeah.
Okay, they manipulate
the political
the
parties.
Government is a good thing.
Yeah, we need a functioning government. The problem is neither of our political parties have been providing that.
Correct. I won't disagree with that at all.
Because they're only concerned about getting reelected. They're not concerned about the government actually getting anything done.
I wrote something on the old Blue Sky that is a semi rant that speaks to this. When you all get through this, and I say you all because I am 70 and do not expect to, I hope you will remember not to take your foot off the accelerator of social change and think the war is won because some milestone has been met. Every achievement of my youth and young adulthood is either in tatters or headed there. Civil Rights Act of 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, reproductive rights from Griswold to Roe, 65 to 73, free or cheap tuition for post-secondary education at land-grant colleges. The Reagan Revolution was a fucking disaster. Too many just sat by and watched as the makings of the nation were undone in the name of greed, and as the wealthy stoked every ember of fear into a flame of revanchist undoing. If we can make a fire break of 2024, we'll have to ensure we take the steps necessary to quench the flames beyond it and rebuild. And the rebuilding will be for you all to do. I'll do what I can while I can, but you must remember never forget once meant, even if many have indeed forgotten how hard the past struggles were and what the cost of fascism truly is.
Yeah. See, that's a powerful speech. You should actually be a speechwriter for one of these candidates.
Or run.
Oh, I've done my bit. I mean,
10 more years and you'll be old enough to run for president.
Yeah, good point, Ember.
That is one of our big problems, that so many of the people in office are implementing laws that there's a good chance they'll be dead before they go into effect.
No, they usually take effect the next January or the next July or the next September.
Yeah, well, we have a long history of presidents implementing 5-year plans when they're only in office for 4 years.
Well, of course, that way they don't have to be reconciled with it.
Right. Well, that's the kind of thing I mean, that, by the time their plan goes into effect, it's going to get blamed on somebody else, or they're just, not going to be around anymore.
Will anybody have $500 billion laying around that they can input to Stephanie's campaign?
Yeah, I will. Fine. I won the lottery.
A little short.
It's all hers.
I've got a jar of loose change. I'm not sure how much is in there.
How much you need, Steph? I'll write a check off my Trump account.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just put you on the recurring contribution thing with some sort of misleading thing. I hate these people so much. It's unbelievable.
Anybody got some Trump bucks that you bought like 5-6 years ago? I mean, they've had to have gone up in value by now.
I need to make a deal. I need to make a deal with some Chinese company to put out Steph's sneakers.
Well, Stephanie, if you want to run for office, you need to make a deal with one of the Russian oligarchs.
Well, I just take great pleasure in the fact that the poor. Well, I'm pissed at the Democratic Party for nominating her, but Sarah Gideon, who ran against Susan Collins, I know personally, and we've had many run-ins when she was on the town council of my town, Freeport, and she is one of these Dems who runs around talking the talk but never walks the walk. I mean, when I was deeply involved in town politics, she was sort of on the other side. When I had a local rag put pictures of me in their publication with a mustache on, and in the same issue had pictures of the Klan around a lynching. She didn't do shit.
Ew.
So, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, you can't expect to start picking up the banner of equality and stuff when you're not even concerned about safety.
Yeah.
Sarah, why the Dems? She was a pretty face, but she was never going to beat Susan Collins. She's from Rhode Island. Susan's from Aroostook County. She lost areas in this state that Biden carried in the 60%. It's just, gotta know what you're doing here. The Democrats are so stupid.
Maybe you could talk George Santos to come up there and run.
We'll get right on that, Spooky.
Okay, we have to rewind to the guide dogs and the guide horses I was talking about and start from there.
What about guide elephants?
Yeah. Call him.
Let's just take him for a little jaunt over the Alps.
Yes. A brief trip. It will be lovely. What could possibly go wrong?
What balls that took for him to do that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. See, and at the time, the Romans were saying we need to protect our southern border, but they didn't anticipate that.
Of course, one of the things
Weird
they
how
don't
that
mention,
goes around, isn't it?
one of the things they don't mention about this, I don't know if you would say heroic feat, was that half of the elephants died on the way.
Yeah, bad for the
Which
elephants.
you would expect through mountains.
Yeah, trying to put the elephants into that climate and that terrain.
Oops. Oh. It's a long drop.
Well,
Like,
see.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm thinking is that, you've got all these winding trails going up and you've got this long column of his army. What about the guys who were further in back? When an elephant fell off and was rolling down the hill.
Well,
I wonder how many elephants will survive this year with the general election.
Well done. Let's see what you did there.
Have any of you guys seen a movie called The Distinguished Gentleman? It's an Eddie Murphy movie from about, 1992 or something.
Yeah, I think
yes, I remember that.
20 years ago. I don't really remember it.
Yeah, he's basically a scam artist, and discovers that his congressman has died and happens to share the same name, and so he runs for Congress, the one and and then when he's in power, it's like he gets buttered up by certain, high-ranking people, because they don't really say Republican or Democrat, but you kind of get the feeling like, so they're mixing him with the, they see him as a useful idiot, and he's looking at them and scaring the way, and it's like, and just gets the aspirin, sort of like, are you in favor of, are you in favor of abortion? And it's like, why? Well, what do you think? It's like, it doesn't matter to me. If you're pro it, then I can get money from these people. If you're against it, I can get money from those people. And it's like how to get on committees and all that kind of stuff. It's a really interesting look at how, I don't know, corrupt might be an exaggeration, but not far off.
Oh, no, it would not be an
exaggeration. It is a system. It is a system.
Yeah, there is a lot of corruption in our political system, no question about it.
What? Oh, come on.
Oh yeah.
Since we've mentioned Santos a few times, he apparently is trying to set up a campaign to get back into Congress. Want to guess how much he's raised so far?
Yeah, isn't it incredible that he actually is gonna do that?
Anyone take any guesses how much you raised so far?
$666 billion.
No,
nothing.
No,
Zero.
I know piddly shit, but
zero.
So who is this?
Santos.
All right.
George Santos. He's trying to get back into Congress, and so far his campaign has raised $0.
Do you know what his reason for going for Congress?
Sponsoring himself?
No, he's not even sponsoring himself.
Well, one of the problems the Republican Party is having right now is Trump put his niece in charge of it. And one of her pledges in the beginning was that half of all the money collected would go directly to Donald Trump. So this is not going to anyone's campaign. The money is winding up going to pay Trump's legal fees.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody knows that.
Yeah, but I don't know if everybody noticed that half of all the money the Republican Party receives is going directly to Trump. And their fundraising efforts are far less successful than they have been at this point in any other presidential campaign.
Mm-hmm.
They're not bringing the money in because their big money donors often don't want to be associated with Trump anymore. His name is so bad that they don't want their company's names associated with him.
Yep, the poisoned apple.
Did you ever see the reason why Santos ran for office?
Why he what?
Why he ran for office in the first place?
Well, he wanted to graft and corrupt and grift.
Attention.
The graft was that he won. It basically the pension pays really well.
Yeah, you have to stay in for 2 terms.
That was the problem. He at first it's like, yeah, I'll get in, and all I have to do is to get
That's why
and
we want to get rid of Marjorie Taylor.
Then I'll have a pension forever. And then it's like, yeah, this only works if you've served 2 terms. It's like, shit.
That's why we want to get rid of Marjorie Taylor Greene, because if she lasts till next term, she'll get the permanent pension.
Yep.
For 4 years of hell.
Hey, pal. It's okay. There you go. Sorry, I had to take care of Sammy's son. He got caught.
When I listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, when I hear Marjorie Taylor Greene, all I think of is Wayne's World, Psycho Who's Beast reference. She is nutty as a fruitcake.
Yeah, she actually was saying that we should be spending our money on space lasers to protect the border.
Yes.
So I don't know what she thinks that we're going to have orbiting satellites that are going to be able to pick off people trying to swim across the Rio Grande or what?
Well, that's what she wants.
She doesn't know how lasers work. She doesn't know how borders work. She doesn't understand fucking anything except fucking personal trainers.
Remember, we live in a country where a very uncomfortable percentage of people believe the Earth is flat. That there is no space. You can't explain science to people who don't want to learn.
Well, I'm sure Marjorie Taylor Greene would be fantastic at driving kids to soccer.
I'm not sure I would trust her driving.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want her running my kids around.
You can just imagine her being one of these people shouting, like road rage, just screaming at everybody, get out of my way, you idiot.
I mean, Lauren Bobbitt she's history. She was getting very poor support in her district, the 3rd district of Colorado.
Yeah.
And then she decided, well, I'll have this genius stroke, I'll run in the 4th district. So she switched over there, and she's getting even less.
I am glad that it's going so badly for her. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm also sure that Marjorie Taylor Greene is also quite skilled at talking to people's manager.
Yeah.
Boba is really weird. She is definitely, one gunman short of a posse.
She's like a high school mean girl.
I was thinking she was one lip away from being a pussy, but
they're all very disturbing.
Thank you, Ember.
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
You know this. Oh, I love you.
Oh.
I don't know. I was looking up how many people in the United States think the Earth is flat. There doesn't seem to be any solid data. Some websites say 2%, some say 1%, some say 33% of Republicans.
Yeah.
There have got to be more or less than 2%, because there are definitely more trans people than flat earthers, and trans people represent about 2%. So I think flatties are well under 1%. Well under.
Isn't it disturbing that we would even have to ask this question? That there are enough, we know there are enough of them that we actually have to ask.
It's the old story
I'm over the shock of it, so no, it's
I don't know if you
really want to feel disheartened, consider this. In 2019, Gallup did a poll and found that 40% of U.S. adults believe that the Earth is less than 10,000 years old.
Yeah.
I know, it's disgusting.
Let's see here. According to a
It's-
YouGov report, it's 2% of the 8,215 respondents chose. I have always believed the world is flat.
Okay, so we're back at 2%.
It's a spreadsheet data from 10,374 respondents, of whom only 1.28% preferred the always a flat earther response. So around 2%, it seems.
Wow.
According to that much information. And that's off of something being reported on Scientific America.
Yep. 7 years ago, I did not believe anyone took Flat Earth seriously. Not until I got on YouTube and started seeing these people.
I really don't think the flat earthers take flat earth seriously. Like, at least their biggest advocates, like Witsit, Flatzoid, all of these people, either it's a Mott and Bailey fallacy for their religious fundamentalism. Like in Flatzoid's case, he likes to argue flat earth because as long as we're arguing about flat earth, we're not arguing about his ridiculous beliefs in the Bible, which are what inspire his flat earth beliefs. So he believes, but that's not really the point of his beliefs. And then there's Witsit, who just thinks he's smarter than everyone else and sees it as a game to try to outmaneuver everyone.
Yeah, and a lot of them are just in it for the grift that, if they got enough followers and their followers are, pledging to them on Patreon or sending them super chats, they're getting money off of it.
Yeah.
David Weiss with his Flat Earth app.
Yeah. Oh, God almighty. I can't, and he makes money off of it.
$2.99 a download.
He started out as an atheist and then decided to go whole hog into being a religious kook.
And see, polls 2021 and survey posted on University of New Hampshire has as high as 10%.
Ouch.
Boy,
okay, that's scary.
That's concerning, yes.
Yeah, that's enough almost to be a voting block that the politicians would pay attention to.
By coincidence, yesterday I watched the movie Idiocracy.
Purple. What?
But that's
you're kidding, right?
But that's among.
We got 51% of the population is calling Republicans bloodthirsty bastards, and how dare you take my rights away? And no, that's just not valid statement.
But that's among that's a breakdown. That 10% number comes from a breakdown of people who believe conspiracy theories.
Okay.
I rewatched Idiocracy recently with the kids to show them because it keeps coming up in memes and they wanted to understand what it was about. So I was like, all right, let's watch it. And it's billed as it wasn't supposed to be a prophecy, but watching it today, the people who are supposed to be the inbred dumb people seem smart in comparison to some of our present day politicians and world leaders.
Yeah.
That's a mood.
President Camacho, being a better president than what we currently have been having, huh?
Yeah. Like I honestly, as much of a dumbass as Camacho is, I think he'd make a better president than at least one of the two candidates.
Speaking about the Republican guy, I had an idea about inventing a Donald Trump a Donald Trump cocktail. It would be orange and bitter.
But no one would like it.
People would pretend to like it.
Yeah.
Oh, and it costs $60.
Yeah.
If you put the Trump name on it and charge enough for it, you'll get a bunch of people claiming it's the best thing they ever had.
Ay. I did look up the Trump Bucks thing. Apparently the website disappeared in 2023. Nobody ever got their Trump Bucks. Shock. Total scam.
Apparently some
Sorry,
people actually got them.
What's a Trump buck?
In early 2023, February or March, something like that, some organizations, when Trump was starting to sell a bunch of merch to fund his campaign, several other people started selling official Trump merch. Trump Bucks was one of them. And they were saying, buy your Trump Bucks now for pennies on the dollar, and in the future, you'll be rich just like Donald Trump. And they took everyone's money, and then they closed up shop and went away because they weren't actually associated with Donald Trump.
Apparently, though, some of them did get sent out because there were a couple cases reported of people taking them to the bank and trying to cash them.
I could totally see Trump supporters trying to do that. I mean, I've seen Trump supporters try to pay with Monopoly money. There
was
honestly
somebody
not
who
the
was
brightest
arrested because they brought a $5,000 Trump note to the bank and started a major scene and assaulted one of the tellers because they wouldn't cash it.
Yeah, that sounds arrest worthy.
You can buy the $100 Trump Bucks bill on Amazon for $4.99.
$4.99 or $400?
Yes, $4.99.
Okay.
There's a $2 bill available for $29.99. So that one actually did go up in face value. There's a gold coin, a quarter-ounce gold coin that's worth slightly less than the gold it's made on because of the imperfection of whose face is on it. Like, you ruined this perfectly good gold. Now I have to melt it down.
Yep.
I don't know if you keep an eye on British politics at all. We've just passed the Rwanda bill. And the Rwanda bill is basically, the idea is we've already got a border wall. It's called the English Channel. But people can get over it in rubber boats. And it's like, right, if you come here illegally on a boat, which is only 1% of the people coming in claiming asylum or illegal immigrants, because they like to call them illegal immigrants. They're not asylum seekers. They're illegal immigrants. That's the way
they play that game here too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so so they've just one element of the bill, which, you know, our Prime Minister tried to say we won't have foreign courts telling us what laws we can do, and the court that told them was our Supreme Court. So it wasn't a foreign court at all. It wasn't the Court of Human Rights, you know, European Court of Human Rights or anything. But the entertainment of it is that the British court said that Rwanda is not a safe place, and the government went, you know what, we're going to create a law to say that it's a safe place.
That'll help.
You know, so basically...
It's literally fascism.
Yeah, but it's also like, you know, we're going to style this, you know, lump of turd to make it look like it's not a turd.
Well, that's what they do.
You know, and it's just like...
So, I found this $0 Trump bill. And underneath the picture, you'll notice it says worthless.
Well, okay, at least that one is worth its face value.
Yeah, I'd pay money for that. Not a lot.
Would you pay $16.95? That looks like it's the price there.
No, $5 because it comes in a nice little presentation there.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Does it say the bill's coated with LSD? That might make it worthwhile.
Maybe.
How much is it? No, 16? No.
$16.95. It's a blotter, apparently.
Now, here's the question. It's a Trump thing. So when it says you'll get it by April the 25th, by the by that date, is that going to actually be the date, or is it going to be sometime much further in the future?
Well, it doesn't specify what year.
Yeah.
If it's coming from Trump, you'll never see it.
You know, it's ironic, not worth the paper it's printed on.
I was just thinking, the lines across make me want to print this on toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do have Trump toilet paper.
Mm-hmm.
That looks like it was done with an inkjet printer that was having problems with the alignment.
Apparently, the original designer was 247bookmarks.com, but whatever, I don't know.
Yeah. Go ahead, taste it. It's not a turd. We even have laws saying it's not a turd.
Yeah. Just like there's laws saying that the 4:15 train comes, it must be 4:15, no matter what the clock says. The clocks are wrong. The train is on time.
Yeah, that's the sharpshooter fallacy, isn't it?
Not even. Sharpshooter would be if the train came on time once, and we use that as data to say the train always comes on time. In proper fascism, the train never arrives on time, but because it's an act of law, it's politically correct to say that the train is on time. Then the train, whenever it shows up, that's actually what time it is. That's what politically correct used to mean, is that you would say something that's blatantly not true, but for political reasons, it was illegal to say what was actually true.
Here in the 21st century, we call them alternative facts.
Yes.
Yep.
Well, the meaning of that's definitely changed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole meaning of the word fact has gotten rather fuzzy these days.
Well, I mean, they've been fucking around with the definition of truth for a couple of 100 years now, since the revival bullshit started in the 1800s. I mean,
Yeah.
you can see Frank Turek give a presentation almost once a week. Is that true? What does true really mean? I mean, without the Bible, we don't even know. We don't have a definition.
Here. Hey, you whip your ass with that.
Yeah, I don't want that anywhere near my underside.
And yes, this is a real product. See?
Oh yeah, I'm
What do you
sure.
mean by that? What do you 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 mean by that?
Shut up.
You can get it on
What do you
Amazon.
mean by that? You're an asshole. What do you mean by that? Nothing.
You must be presupposing God, because without God, we wouldn't know what a proper asshole is. Just like genocide. You can't have genocide without God.
Say exactly the same thing. You wouldn't know your ass from a hole in the ground if it weren't for Jehovah.
Yes.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that. I came up with an atheist pre-sup argument, and it was just an illustration of it's a ridiculous argument. So I just tweaked it from an atheistish point of view. I'm just going to find it. It's
But consider how perfectly designed your ass is. You know, it holds the shit in until you are ready to release it, and when you're not releasing the shit, you can sit on it.
Except for
I mean,
hemorrhoids.
this is obviously the work of an intelligent designer.
Well, that's what Trump
Yes.
does.
Put the waste factory right next to the fun house.
Yep.
Except for hemorrhoids.
well, it's not even. I can't speak from experience, but apparently it's also in the funhouse.
I mean, the fun house is inside the waste factory, depending on your anatomical structure. Sometimes, yes.
Okay, so here's
the famous sage Jimmy Snow once said, "If God hates gay sex, why did he put my G-spot up my butt?"
Yeah.
So this is my atheist pre-sub. It's a reductio ad absurdum argument, so it's just reducing it to stupidness. So a long time ago in another universe, a being called Bob decided to create a universe because he just wanted to see what would transpire. In Bob's universe, the laws of physics work differently, so something can come from nothing. I get that problem out of the way. And that's how Bob's species came about. Over time, that species advanced to a point where they had the technological advancement to be able to create planets and universes. So Bob created this universe, life and everything, including the laws of logic. That Yahweh God thing, yeah, that's just a myth created by an ancient tribe unable to answer the big questions. Where do we come from? What caused the universe? What's the purpose in life? So they just made something up. So no God required. Now, if you're a Christian, you'll say, well, you just made that up. How could you possibly know that without stealing from my worldview? You can't even use the laws of logic without stealing from my worldview. Everything you say, do, and think of is contingent on Bob. This is where presupposing things leads. A Bob-esque creator of the universe has as much validity in a presuppositional sense than Yahweh. The only difference is how many people believe it, which then becomes a fallacy of its own. Argument ad populum.
Yep.
So there you go.
I like that because it explains why we seculars are always saying, "Thanks, Bob."
Not bad.
Well, also that, Bob is the acronym that I've heard many women use for their battery-operated boyfriend. So they regularly get fucked by Bob.
And then sing his praises.
Yeah, he'll go on for hours.
Depends on what comes over them.
Okay, well, we've got 10 seconds to finish at the 3-hour marker. Jenny's going to make us go another hour.
I can't go another hour. I've got places to go, people to be.
Yeah, I think we should wrap it up here for the day.
Places to go and people to be. Who are you going to be?
Yeah, see.
Who are you going to call?
I'm gonna be Steph the Pro Sailor.
Yeah. Also, there have been a couple of periods here during the chat that I have literally been wondering if I was going to fall asleep on you. So I was in bed for 5 hours last night, and I'm sure I slept less than 2.
I think
I have to go for my mammogram this morning.
Yeah, I think it would be impressive for you to be able to fall asleep on me because I'm 4,000 miles away.
I mean, you don't know how big Purple is.
Pretty sure Purple's not 4,000 miles long.
Well, one time I fell asleep on my parents' couch outside of Chicago and woke up in Battle Creek, Michigan. So it's entirely possible I could fall asleep and be airdropped into England.
Or teleport. You don't know if you're teleporting when you're asleep. You were saying earlier how you can't remember but bits and pieces of your dreams.
Well, and cats do teleport, so they may do it. So yeah, there is a non-zero possibility that I could fall on you when I'm sleeping.
Just be sure that you transport and rematerialize inside of 10 Downing Street, and take out that Rishi guy for us.
Yep. Okay, Ember, you got stuff you want to plug? What's going on when you're here, world?
Main thing is the transposition show on Thursday. It should be a pretty good one. I've got a couple of pre-recorded segments and a proposed discussion topic for the intro part of the show. Should be pretty cool.
Oh yeah, they're always good.
Debate review with Mark on Saturday. We're at my place this week doing part 2. Who the hell is it? It's Dillahunty versus some asshole. It's always some asshole. Regular video comes out. I think it's set for Sunday right now, but I may do a live stream anyway if I have the energy and things. So yeah, but bunch of stuff, and yeah. So make sure you're subscribed. The thing is down there, and ring the bell because if we do a random live stream, that way you'll get notified so you can come play in the chat.
You said doo-doo.
Doo-doo. We're so professional.
Yeah, why? Nope. I was trying to see if I could pin the link, but why don't you drop the link in the side chat again?
Let me see if I still have it in my keyboard memory here.
Yep.
Okay. Transpositions. Oop.
Good, you're doing it, so I don't have to. That's awesome.
Yep. Okay, Jenny, you got anything happening or any final words on our discussion?
No.
Just don't get caught.
No. BK do crimes, don't get caught.
Okay. Yeah, somebody had put that thing on Twitter that if you and a friend got arrested, in 4 words, what do you say to them? Mine was always, don't admit to anything.
That was fun.
We were at church.
Yep. Okay.
Because that, of course, excuses everything.
Yep.
I
Well,
played
that's-
the 5th.
He couldn't have done that. He's a god of man. He's a man of God.
He's a god of man.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
No,
Laura.
but the beautiful thing is, even if you are guilty, you were absolved already. Jesus said you can go. So what can the law do, right?
Yep.
Is this
Laura,
not
you've
a
been quiet
Christian
for a long
nation?
time?
I really haven't got anything. You know, I mean, the only thing that's been going on for me, my relationship with my mum has got worse, and it was non-existent already.
Mm.
I made contact with her a few weeks ago, and she told me that I'd left it too late, that I'd hurt her. The fact that she told me I should consider her dead, and I went down and challenged her, and that was what hurt her. So, and I said, like, you know, she said, "You hurt me," and I said, "Well, you hurt me. Does that make us even?" And she goes, "Yes, it does." It's like, you know, my brain's like, I didn't realize it was a competition.
Yeah.
She said that I'd ripped her off because she'd helped me with stuff, you know, sometimes financially and things like that. And you know, and of course, it's like that's what your parents do for you. It kind of comes with the job.
My grandpa pulled that one on me too.
Yeah. So, you know, she accused me of screaming at her, "Call me Laura," and I've never said that to anybody. You know, so it just bizarre. All this happened because I wanted to go down and give her a Mother's Day present in 2019 as a guy. And she just obviously didn't want me to. But the weird thing is, back then, I was in a situation, right, the ball's in her court now. She's closed the door, I haven't closed the door on her. She's closed it on me. And so, you know, I've now, using that analogy, imagine living next door to your parents, but you've got an adjoining door from your house into theirs, and it's, you know, not through the yard at the front or whatever.
Yeah.
So I've left that door, you know, out clear in case she wants to use it. And now, you know, it's quite clear that she's never going to use it, so I can put the piano in front of it and not have to worry about, you know, possibility of it being used. So yeah, another element of sadness involved with it. Turns out she's got cancer. I think it's esophageal because she was like really raspy and everything, and she'd had, you know, cancer treatment on it, possibly chemo. I don't know. Didn't really. She wasn't very specific. And you know, the sad part is, often when you get people who face cancer or death, you know, that kind of thing, they sort of reflect on the past and think, yeah, maybe I could have done things better. No, it seems she's just hardened herself. You know, so it's like.
Yeah, sometimes they just get bitter about it. I've seen that happen too.
Yeah, so I know
that family is being so difficult.
Yeah. So, like I say, but you know what? I didn't cry. Previously, I cried. I was really upset by it. This time, it was like, you know, now I'm just resigned to the reality that, you know, it's never going to happen. And, you know, I don't really have to worry about it so much anymore. You know, so it's more, before I was really upset. Now it's just a resigned sigh.
Well, you know, if you need somebody just to talk to privately, you can always, you know, tag me and we can set up a private chat.
Oh, thank you.
Just if you need a sounding board or whatever.
You are making the right decision.
There's a reason why I mentioned it now, you know, just so
actually, Seth, why don't you go on while I'm looking for something else here?
Okay.
I want to finish with this last thing, and that is I'm going to use a quote from Chief O'Brien from a Star Trek Next Generation episode. It's the one where Riker's dad comes to visit, and he says to Riker, he said, you know, you can choose your friends, you can choose your enemies, but family, that's in the stars.
Mm-hmm. So I'm echoing Ember tomorrow. The transpositions, we Carly Chardonnay Webb will be, I just found out, will be joining us live. And she's also got a really great sports story that she's going to be presenting. That'll be fun. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing. Probably a little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm kind of last minute in pulling these things out. But I'll figure something out.
If it wasn't for the last minute, nothing would ever get done.
Well, there you go. Let's see. What's
pulling these things out from where?
I don't know. Out of my some of those places. I think I'm doing something Saturday. But I think I'm doing something Saturday, but it escapes me. I know that on the 2nd of May, a week from tomorrow, there's a thing over at Godless Granny's place with Jenny and Purple and me and whoever else is there talking about stuff. Before that, supposedly, unless there's a fundraiser going on, so it's somewhat unclear, I'll be co-hosting the Transatlantic Calling Program.
Okay.
With Arden. I think Arden's going to be there. It's one of the two of them. Probably Arden.
Somebody.
But anyway, yeah, somebody will be around, and then whatever else comes up in between. And sewing. I'm going to try to do more sewing before people come after me with knives.
Okay, I found what I was
just hold up the sails to defend yourself, because knives are counterproductive.
I found what I was looking for here. It's an episode of Seth Andrews, the Thinking Atheist, titled Cat Burrito.
Sounds tasty.
There are like 4 segments in there, and really everything in that show is good. But especially there is one show that he's talking to someone about, coming out as atheist. And it really hit with me as far as, coming out as trans. And that it's well worth listening to, even though, it's an hour show, but it's well worth the time. And just what he was saying about that, we all hope that we can explain it in a way that we can get this person to understand, but in the end, you've got to, your life is your own journey. And there are some people that just aren't going to understand no matter how you explain it. And you have to decide at that point, whether you're going to be concerned about yourself or whether you're going to be concerned about making other people happy.
Yeah. Yeah, I transitioned because I was fed up of having to make other people happy.
Yeah, and I'm dealing with a lot of that with my family. I only have one family member who is openly opposing it. Yeah, but I've got a couple that are trying to convince me not to do anything permanent because I might change my mind later.
Yeah.
60-some years isn't long enough to make up your mind.
Right, it isn't long enough to figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck, Yeah, I found that it's like, I found I couldn't really make anybody else happy until I was happy myself.
Ironically, one of the people who was trying to talk me out of it is my sister, who dressed me in her clothes when I was 6. Okay, Mage.
I've got a few things in the pipeline, but I don't think I have anything really here to present right away, unfortunately. Still working on the GMO video. That should be quite interesting once I get that done. And I got in touch with Amanda not too long ago here. In fact,
good.
So there should be an interesting one on that. We'll see if I can get what she has to say about something. have to come up with something to maybe do in the meantime. So that's in my Gardens Happen channel. And I really should get around to getting my that pop culture thing going. I've got the channel created. I just haven't done anything with it.
Well, yeah, you were talking a lot about the X-Men 97 thing. I think that would be a good topic for you to do some stuff on for your pop culture program, and just put in the title that there will be spoilers.
Yeah, I'll definitely. If I do any spoilers, I'll definitely put it in the title or whatever.
Yeah, so if people who haven't seen a particular episode are going to be watching it.
Yeah, I did record my first impressions while I was sitting in the theater after watching Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, so I could put that up as a first video if I need to.
Oh, I've got one last thing to plug.
Oh, one more?
After Mage is done.
I'm done.
One more thing.
Right.
One more. Just one more. Our adjunct to the Transpositions show, our Transpositions Discord server is almost ready for prime time, and we'll be sending out some invitations for anyone who isn't in there yet. We've got places where you can talk about the show, where you can give us some hot tips to cover, share good news and bad news, and just chit chat every now and again. We've got one voice channel.
How do you plan on dealing in your Discord? How do you plan on dealing with trolls and horrible people saying?
We have a great mod team. We've got Titan Uranus. We've got Ascalon. We've got L.
So it's no second chance. You're out of here.
It's.
Well, I think the point to having a good
how moderation
people
works.
who can make the decisions on those things.
Yeah, these people are pretty good. I mean,
well, you definitely got some people with a lot of experience in it.
Given the recent thing, I don't know if you guys saw the thing with this guy Chuck from Florida, poor guy, who called into the line and got absolutely roasted by Forrest and John Gleason.
Yeah.
I saw the clip of it. Yeah, that was epic.
It was epic, but so in honor of that, our section for people who are just joining is entitled "The Landing Pad," and we have a gated community just for attack helicopters, which mods will be able to assign that role to people who are knobs, bell-ends, assholes. Yeah, we're working. Anyway, that we should be able to pull something together sometime in the coming week. But yeah, it's been a fun project, and Ascalon and Titan Uranus have been just huge helps.
If you get someone say, "How do you deal with trolls?" the answer is, "We have good mods and a trebuchet."
Yes. Okay, I'm good. Put him in the trebuchet and boot him over the wall.
Okay. How many could you load in with one trebuchet? Well, it depends on the size, I guess.
Depends on the size of the troll. Is it a cave troll or is it somewhat?
If you could do like 5, 6 at a time, you could take bets on who goes furthest.
Okay, well, next Wednesday happens to even fall on the correct day. Will actually be the 6-year anniversary of this channel.
Wow.
Yep, I started doing this stuff in 2018. So, and on Saturday, Mage and I will be doing the last of our autism streams. We were doing one for each Saturday in April for autism awareness, which will probably be some continuation of the discussion from last week about the stimming and meltdowns and freeze-ups. But if people have other questions they want answered, since this is going to be our last show in this series, you can, submit your ideas to me through DMs on Twitter or through my Discord server. Yeah, me or Mage. And Laura, you're certainly welcome to join us on Saturday.
I'll have a look at see what I'm doing.
Yeah, again,
it always depends on time zones and what I've got planned.
I know it's starting pretty late at night for you, so if you've got anything planned the next day, you probably have to be in bed by the time we start. I got that.
What day is this?
Saturday.
Okay, well, Sunday's easy.
Yeah, it's going to be Saturday, 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
Central time. So, it's going to be like 11 o'clock in the UK when we're starting.
Well, actually, I do have one quick thing to say, which is a nice thing, which is cool. In 5 weeks' time, I will be going on a month-long trip to Japan. Wanted to do that since I was in my mid-20s. So it's a 25-plus year ambition, and I'm finally doing it. But I will be doing it on my passport that has an F for the gender marker.
Yay.
F for fabulous.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's going to be a cool one.
Oh yeah, I know. To me, just what a tremendous thing it felt like when I got my driver's license with the F designation on it.
Yeah, the day I changed my name by deed poll, the time that I there's a company called Boots. They do cosmetics and stuff. And when I got my Boots card, which is like you get points every time you buy stuff and money off later, when I got my first letter with my name on it, it's like, oh, that's special. It's stupid things. I've got in a frame my my first prescription for estrogen.
Yeah,
it's a silly thing, but it means a lot to me.
The first thing I got with my name on it in the mail was my electric bill, and I got excited about it.
Yeah. It's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got elections up, so I'll be using my passport to go to vote because, the government decided that they were going to stop with problems that didn't exist of, fraudulent voting. Yep. Which I think was 12 in a country of 62 million people.
I also have my new voter registration card. So I've got make sure that that's all with my new name and my current address, so that I will be ready for the next election.
You see, for me, it's voting is because remember that we've had 5 prime ministers. 3 general elections, and every year we generally have a local election as well.
Yep.
So I voted lots and lots of times because, Theresa May did a snap election, Boris Johnson did a snap election. So instead of being 4 or 5 years, I got, I think I voted 6 times.
Yeah. Well, I just got, my hearing with the court for my new name was just last September. And then, of course, I had to wait for them to send me the official paperwork with the embossed seal before I could do anything with it.
It
changed with the federal and state governments.
Yeah, it amazes me really how in the UK, our gatekeeping system is awful and, it's years to get HRT. And yet I can write my own deed poll and change my name tomorrow.
Yeah.
You can do it
want to socially transition, seems that would be fairly easily.
Yeah, but in America,
don't make big announcements about that, Laura. That's exactly what the GCs want to get rid of.
Yes, but it's like, but in America, you've got to go to a judge and convince them that you're trans.
No, you don't.
No,
you go and you make a presence, and they say, "Okay, you're done."
Yeah, you can get your name changed.
You just have to convince them.
You just have to convince the judge that you're not doing it to get out of any debts or to swindle anyone.
Right.
There are other things you have to convince other agencies of, but not to change your name.
Our
as long as you're not doing it for any nefarious purpose, you're fine.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in the U.S., some states now, like Florida, have passed laws against getting the gender marker changed on your driver's license. But
I know.
Fortunately, Minnesota is one of the good states for that, and I didn't have any problem with it.
Yeah. It's our gatekeeping system is in order for me to get a gender recognition certificate, I have to put in paperwork to a panel of medical and just general people who I will never ever meet, don't know anything about me other than what's on the paperwork. And that's my friend calling me again.
Okay, well,
yeah, time to go. I'm sorry, I've talked too much.
No, that's fine, and come on Saturday if you can, or like I say, if you just need a private thing to, complain about the situation with your mother or whatever's happening to you, just hit me anytime.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm actually fine. It's just resigned sadness rather than really upset and anxious or anything. All it's done is just solidified something I already knew was the case. So
yeah. Well, like I say, I'm going through with my family having to get used to this, so I can relate to some of that.
The motto of the story is: if you're trans and your family accept you, embrace it, embrace them, because they're awesome.
Okay,
well,
I'm talking.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, we started wrapping up almost half an hour ago, so
I'm sorry.
We're getting into Amy Newman lengths of outro here.
Oh, you don't know about the old days, when Diane and I used to run live chats.
No talking now. It's done.
Okay. Okay. We'll see you all back here next week.
Push the button.
Yep.
We can carry on later.
Everybody come to the live stream for the autism on Saturday, so we can, help get that out and get YouTube to promote it a bit, hopefully.
And if you haven't done already, click that like button.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.